What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Ministry leaders, if you think that people of faith should be leading the way in solving society's issues, we invite you to join 101.1 The Answer and the Americans for Prosperity Foundation for the Faith and Liberty Summit on May 3rd at Agape Church in Little Rock. This free event will provide the knowledge and the resources to help unify the faith community's role in civic life. Lunch will be provided, but space is limited. So register right now at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Use the promo code FAITH.
Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
You can't handle the truth.
All right, let's get to it. Let's talk a little truth today here on the Dave Elswick Show. I'm going to tell you what the useful idiots. That's what Lenin used to call them. All right. Mm-hmm. What is a useful idiot when you look at it from where that term started, which was during the Cold War? It was a way of identifying people who may not have been communists, but who were easily swayed to the communist argument through misinformation. And that's what we got going on right now on our college campuses. Because where do they get most of their news from? TikTok. Mm-hmm. TikTok is an algorithm designed by a Chinese communist company that has an algorithm that has been proven to be nothing more than a device to convince you of things that typically you wouldn't easily be convinced of. So I think we can put the two big stories to start off today with is what is going on our college campuses, and TikTok yesterday. They finally passed a bill. The president says he's going to sign it. It was passed by the House. Now it's been passed. It's been attached, I think, to the Ukraine measure. So if the president gets he doesn't have a line item veto. If he vetoes, he's got to veto the whole bill.
That's right.
So you've got, aren't you glad that you didn't get what you wished for, which was a line item veto? Because if he could have gone in and just struck that one out and went on. Anyway, you got now you got this situation where the president will sign this bill and will get rid of TikTok. TikTok, look, it's going to be a year before it disappears if it does, because they're going to take it to court, and so we'll have to see what the court's going to say and things of that nature. But I think scientific evidence, as strong as scientific evidence can be, since people believe men can have babies now. I don't know if scientific evidence carries any weight now or not. Bottom line is, we got to stop it. Now, it's going to be interesting. Biden signs that, which says TikTok is something that's bad. It needs to be stopped. They need to make it illegal to download on your kid's phone with the algorithm that's there now. What's the Biden re-election campaign going to do? They just opened up a whole section dealing with TikTok. Yeah. They're going to use TikTok. So is he going to sign it with one hand while he speaks a completely different thing out of his other side of his mouth?
Well, I mean, we've seen that before with him, right?
Well, yeah. Let's see. He had his Charlottesville moment the other day. You know, you remember when Charlottesville happened and everybody was talking about white supremacy and all of that, and Trump said there were good people on either side of the debate. And the media tore him a new one. Mm-hmm. I mean, they did. They tore him a new one, and so did the Democrats. But what are they going to do now? The day before yesterday, the president's out hiking in the forest, and somebody yells at him about, what the stuff that's going on the Ivy League campuses, and he answers back by saying, well, that's not right, blah, 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 but the other side have got good people on it too, basically. I mean, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. And so I call that his Charlottesville moment. And guess what? Some people are trying to bring that up, and guess what? The media don't want to talk about it.
No. Well, the media doesn't want to, because if Trump could say, look at that beautiful rainbow, and the media would play it out like, the Satan was talking about a rainbow. And
how can he say that rainbow is beautiful when it stands for LGBTQ+?
Yeah.
Well, they co-opted. They took it. Yeah. It's not theirs. God is the one who created it.
Biden could say, "Look at that beautiful rainbow," and they would rally around him and say, "Look at those beautiful words from the president." So
they would say, "Yeah, he really is a practicing Catholic."
The mainstream media, yeah, they would. That's exactly right. And the mainstream media is TikTok. They're just not as good at it as TikTok.
Well, that algorithm is dangerous.
Very dangerous, and
it messes with your brain chemistry. It's been proven.
And when people say, when the president said, "Hey, there's good people on both sides," okay, and you got to appreciate the context he said it in, and Joe Biden may have meant the same thing. We're talking about people that may be good people, but are easily manipulated.
Useful idiots.
Yes,
that's what they are.
And it doesn't necessarily make them evil. It's just they're easily conned. They're easily manipulated.
Yep.
And
that's what TikTok uses to their advantage.
And when I was a young man, okay, when I was 18, 19, 20, and in my 20s.
Were you really that young?
At one time. But if we have to be honest, I have to say that, something like TikTok, where I get a few seconds of a video here and there, I would probably be manipulated by that.
And they have been.
Yeah.
It's been very obvious.
And if we're honest about it, right?
Yeah, and when you find out that over 75% of people between the ages of 18 and 29 get the majority of their news off of TikTok, you can figure out what's going on here. I'm just telling you, TikTok is a dangerous algorithm.
It is, and now give the devil their due. Give the devil his due, right? As far as the manipulation goes, because you're taking these very short videos.
Yep, 30 seconds.
And no more than that.
Yeah.
And I think that's by design with young people's attention spans.
And they're making them smaller all the time.
And that's right. And if I say something in a very short period of time, in 10 or 15 seconds, and then they have somebody else say it, and then all of a sudden you have 100,000 TikToks saying the same thing in that shorter period of time, with nothing to back it up or anything, just making the statement. Then that starts getting ingrained as fact when it's not.
That's correct. And in fact, when you look at this whole thing dealing with the Palestinian question, there's 50 pro-Palestinian TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they call them. What do they call them? Does it have a name?
Anyway, TikTok.
They put up 50 different episodes of these TikToks that are pro-Palestinian to every one pro-Israeli.
Yeah,
50 to 1. That's what they've figured it out.
Well, aren't they taking a page from Hitler's regime?
Well, Goebbels was not stupid, all right, and
evil, but not stupid.
He was a very evil man, and he always said, "Tell a big enough lie enough, and people will believe it."
Yeah,
you can't just say it one time. You gotta say it and say it again and say it again and say it again, and after you've done it that way, then sooner or later it becomes embedded in the psyche of the people who you're saying it to.
Salem, okay, she's a witch. Next person, she's a witch. Well, what do you mean? Can you prove she's a witch? She's a witch. You just keep saying it.
Yeah.
Just keep saying it. Next thing you know, somebody's being burned at the stake.
Or somebody who's in power that people respect, or somebody like that makes that statement. And, of course, during that time, the German people they felt like the world was against them, of course, after the Treaty of Versailles in World War I. And Hitler stood up and started talking about that and tied it into the Jews and everything else he tied it to, and people bought into it hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. Now that's a fish that's really caught. If you're a fisherman, you get the idea.
Yeah.
If they swallowed the hook, swallowed the sinker, and they got a whole bunch of the line stuck in their mouth, that's a fish that is definitely caught.
That's what we see at these universities, because you're taking young people that are easily manipulated. And let's make no mistake about it. When I was 20 years old, I was the smartest guy on the planet.
Yeah, I was easily manipulated.
But nobody could tell me that they were smarter than me, and so if I saw something and it came to me and I believed it with a passion.
Yep. Well, Churchill talked about that. Right. He said a person who doesn't, is not a liberal doesn't have a heart. But a person who's past 30 years old and is not a conservative doesn't have a brain.
Yeah, exactly. And so we see this playing on the young people in universities, but for as long as I can remember, that's where evil has flourished in universities.
Oh yeah.
Where they have gone to recruit, where they have gone to put the messages out there to get people. There's a young man here in Little. I say young man, he's 38 years old.
Well, according to me, that's young.
Yeah,
I'll take 38 any day.
I coached him in junior high. I coached him in high school in football, and he was a tireless worker, overachiever on the field, and just did everything right. And just a yes or no sir, solid kid. And his parents, solid people, and the whole family, hardworking people. And he went to University of Colorado for 2 years.
And came back a different person.
Extremely different person. He had, you talked about indoctrinated. He was indoctrinated. He came back and his parents, he railed against their beliefs. He railed against everybody's beliefs. But he didn't. He said it's okay because it's not their fault because they just don't understand. That he told me, he said, I'm a coach, you're a racist. You just don't understand that you are. And I'm going to try to help educate you to understand that you're a racist and that you're privileged. And, of course, you can imagine how Coach Cavin responded to that.
I'm sure you just looked at him and said, give it your best shot.
Yeah, and we would have conversations, but they would always end with him kind of throwing up his hands, walking away, and going, well, you just don't understand. And, I do. I just countered everything you said.
Yeah, I do understand. You don't understand.
Yeah, but the sad part about that is when you said that about Churchill, at 30, okay, well, he's 38 and he never came back.
He stayed there. Huh?
He stayed there. And to this day, I mean, he is, I'm privileged, the patriarch, everything, from abortion to racism to, just everything. It's like he is the poster child of the woke mentality that they push at universities. They really should put him on a billboard, and because he is all in on it. And it's sad though.
Well, there's a lot of people like that now.
It's sad, and as far as transgenderism and things like that, and it's like whatever pops up, he doesn't have to research. He's all in. Like the plus, the LGBTQ plus. The plus means we've talked about on the show. The plus means you don't know what you are, but you know you're something. Yeah. And we can't define it yet, so until we can define it, we're just going to say plus.
Well, we'll even define it. We'll even say that in the past, we called you a pedophile. Yeah. But we won't call you that now. We'll call you somebody who is a person who is minor attractive.
Minor attractive, yeah. And let's normalize it, right?
When you say minor attractive and you say pedophile, the way a person receives both of those messages is totally different.
That's right. That's right. And they use the same thing against Jews because how they normalize pedophile stuff. Okay, now they're trying to tell you that because you're born a Jew, you're evil. You're inherently evil, and you can't. And there's nothing you can do.
Now think about what's going on in the campuses. It started off about, let's stop killing the innocents in Gaza. Okay, that was what it was. Now it's morphed in from the river to the sea. Palestinians will be, or whatever it is, how they're saying this and rhyming it out, meaning that you got to have the complete destruction of Israel. To now they're saying to Jewish people, they don't call them vermin or rats like the Nazis did, but they say things like gas the Jews.
Yeah.
and things of that, which is a direct reference to World War II and the Holocaust.
I think,
and they don't see the change.
Well, and I think the way you said it is really spot on, because where does it start? They recruit these people in by saying, hey, atrocities are being committed against Palestinians.
Look at these pictures that I've got.
Yeah, and they transition that to start you there, and then they transition it to next thing you know, you're lobbying for complete genocide and elimination of the Jewish race.
Exactly right. They slowly work you to that belief system. Let's take a break. Normally we'd have Congressman French Hill on right now, but he'll join us at 9:35. We'll talk to him then. He's got some stuff going on at the Capitol right now, and then he'll join us at 9:35. You won't want to miss it, because he has been working with Jim Jordan, trying to figure out this whole shooting death of the airport administrator that happened here.
You want to tune in at 9:35 because this is a conversation that needs to happen.
Now, he's going to talk about it and give us the information that he has and where we're at. Don't forget about Central Arkansas shooters. Eric Hansen wants you to know they still have their sale going on. You start off with 10% off on everything. Now, you might be able to talk to Eric and convince him to give you 18% off, or maybe even higher. Depends on what we're talking about. If you're talking about handguns, okay, he'll talk handguns with you. If you want long rifles, he'll talk long rifles with you. The bottom line is, you just got to talk. You got to call them. You got to talk to them. 501-302-1112 is their number. They are located, and this is the best way to do this. Go in and see Eric and talk to him face to face. They're on the I-30 frontage road in Benton, right off the Congo exit, right next to Williams Tires. Go talk to Eric and get yourself a good deal with something that you've wanted for your AR-15 or with your handgun. You want a suppressor? Now's the time to talk to Eric Hansen about that. He'll give you the lowdown on that. He'll explain how they work and that you need subsonic ammunition. Do not use regular ammunition with a suppressor because it will defeat its main reason for being on your particular handgun or long rifle. That's Central Arkansas Shooters.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Everyone knows the old saying, nothing lasts forever. Well, whoever said that obviously never bought a timeshare. Not only do your maintenance fees and assessment fees go on forever, they go up forever. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Over 10 years ago, I was a timeshare salesman. But once I saw the dark side of the business, I quit. I started helping folks get out of their timeshares. Since then, we've helped over 30,000 families by getting them out of bad timeshares. If your timeshare agreement goes on forever, if you were told timeshares are a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, you have questions, we have the answers. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-839-8484. That's 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
Do you own an annuity? You know, based on recent changes, you could upgrade your annuity and get 40% more income, tax-deferred growth, and pay fewer fees and expenses. It's true. It could add up to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional lifetime income. Learn more by calling David Lucas Financial in North Little Rock at 501-382-8800. If you currently own an annuity, discover how you could get 40% more income, tax-deferred growth, and pay fewer fees and expenses. This upgrade could add up to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional lifetime income. And it won't cost you a dime. Call 501-382-8800. 501-382-8800.
Investment advisory services are offered through David Lucas Financial, an Arkansas registered investment advisor. Arkansas Insurance license number 1615273.
if things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1, The Answer. To stay up to date on the stories and events that everyone is talking about, all you need to do is keep listening. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. This is the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 FM, The Answer.
Hey, we're 26 minutes after 7 on a Wednesday. It is, of course, that wonderful day that we love.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. It's Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
Yes, it is. It's hump day. We are now closer to Friday than we were on Monday, and that is a good thing. And we've opened up some doors on some discussions. Typically, Congressman Hill would be here right now, but he's joining us later in the show at 9:35. You won't want to miss that. He's going to talk about the shooting of Malinowski. Is that how he pronounces his last name? We're going to talk about that. He's been working with Jim Jordan on that, so we'll get the latest.
A lot of questions.
A
lot of questions.
Well, we were riding up in the elevator this morning, and we were talking about the show today, and Jimmy says, nobody had on a body cam. Now, if nobody has on a body cam, and he's right about this, by the way, somebody told him not either to wear the body cam or turn your body cam off.
Yeah. That was an order.
That was
no question.
It would seem like that would be the case. So that's one of the questions that we'll ask Congressman Hill about and get his take on that. Now, coming up at 7:35, we'll be talking with the Congressman from District 4. That's Bruce Westerman, and we'll talk to him about Tik-Tok, and we'll talk to him about Ukraine, and about Israel, and about Taiwan.
What's funny, you said all those subjects, and TikTok's tied into every one of them.
Yeah, it is. Big time.
Yeah.
It's a big-time issue. And from what I understand, the legislation, if the President signs it into law, which he says he will do, is that it becomes neutered within 11 months. They say 8 months plus you might get an extra 3. Well, if they're saying, yeah, you could conceivably get 3, I'll give them the 3 and make it 11 months.
I'm just going to say it, and I've said it on the show before, and Bruce Westerman, the Congressman Westerman, agreed with me on this at one point. TikTok is really no different than heroin.
Well, yeah, it is very addictive. It has been proven so.
Yeah.
And if you're a parent, you should be concerned about it. And my big question is, looking beyond if they make it illegal here in the country, what's the president going to do? Because a lot of his re-election gambit is going to be played out on TikTok.
And that's a big part of his base is those TikTok watchers.
That's right. But that's where your youth is, all right?
Yeah.
The youth,
that's right.
18 to 29. Yeah, you got to be a movie fan to understand what I'm
My
talking
cousin
about.
Benny.
That's right. 18 to 29. Youth? I love that. Freddie Gwynn was so
What's
good.
a youth?
Judge. Yeah, he was so good. Anyway, 18 to 29-year-olds, over 75% get their news through TikTok. They don't watch nightly news. They don't watch Fox. They don't watch MSNBC. They don't watch anything like that. That takes too long to explain the subject matter. They want it in 30-second bites, and they want it on TikTok. Bill O'Reilly is up next, and when we come back, we'll have Congressman Westerman on with us here on the Dave Elswick Show.
Freedom, opportunity, prosperity, pillars of our great nation fought for by patriots before us. At AFP Arkansas, we're committed to these principles. Together, let's champion the values that make America shine. If we want a state where freedom, opportunity, and prosperity are abundant to everyone, then it will take the voices of everyday Arkansans like you to create positive change. Join in celebrating and defending our legacy. Learn how you can keep the American dream alive at BelieveInAR.com.
Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, and my friend and colleague Mike Gallagher on the Patriots Alaska Cruise this summer. An incredible opportunity to engage with other like-minded patriots on an epic 7-day cruise over 4th of July weekend. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska over pristine water, all while celebrating America's past and future. June 29th to July 6th. Call 855-565-5519 or go to patriotsalaskacruise.com.
Does your knee pain keep getting worse? How about that pain in your shoulder or hip or back? Don't let them tell you that steroids and surgery are your only option. Take my advice now and call QC Kinetics. It's Dave Elswick. QC Kinetics can make that pain go away with all natural advanced regenerative medicine. They're helping people here every day with these amazing natural treatments that restore and repair damaged joint tissue. It's like turning back the clock. Regenerative medicine uses concentrated healing agents from your own body to stimulate that damaged tissue in your joints so they can work like they're supposed to, and there's zero downtime. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting medical breakthrough. Patients here are getting real lasting relief and are saying no to surgery and drugs. 501-222-8440. Call QC Kinetics now. 501-222-8440. That's 501-222-8440.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds of conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Sebastian Gorka, weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, followed by Stacey Washington at 5. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo. Here's your forecast on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
We see increasing clouds through the day and temperatures that will continue to be warm. We'll see 77 degrees for the high temperature and the chance of a passing shower. The better chance for showers will be tonight. They'll be scattered, and the better chance for thunderstorms comes on Thursday. The weather over the next few days remains unsettled, with thunderstorm chances continuing through the weekend. Tonight's low will be 58, and highs on Thursday will be closer to 70. From the Channel 7 Weather Center, I'm James Bryan.
An Arkansas talk legend, Dave Elswick, on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
All right, time to head out to Washington, or maybe he might be in the state since I think he got this week off. We've got Congressman Bruce Westerman joining us today. Congressman, yesterday the Senate voted and approved Ukraine aid, aid to Israel, and aid to Taiwan. And then they attached to that, they sent over to the president also an 8-month timetable for the company that owns Tik-Tok to divest themselves of it, and they can get an extra 3 months if it's because they are, how do we put it, in negotiations to sell it. How are your feelings about all of this?
Well, good morning, Dave. Good morning, Jimmy. It's some pros and cons of that aid package. The banning of ByteDance or TikTok. It's not really banning; it's forcing ByteDance to sell TikTok if they continue to want to use it here in the U.S. That's a good thing. There's some other national security things we got in the bill. We're in this situation, I believe, because of Joe Biden's dismal withdrawal out of Afghanistan, and you've got Iran that's causing all this turmoil in the Middle East. They're backing the Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah, and they're trying to attack Israel. Even they personally tried to attack Israel. And you've got Putin, who went into Ukraine shortly after the Afghanistan withdrawal, and you've got China kind of rattling the saber on Taiwan. So the world is an uneasy place these days, and it got that way, ironically, right after Joe Biden became president and exhibited a lot of weakness on the world stage. Now, I hate to spend money that we don't have, but you can also look at it like an investment to prevent us from having to spend more money and hopefully not, but unfortunately probably American lives down the road if these aggressors aren't stopped where they are right now.
Yeah, let me just jump in and let you make this point, because you've made it before, and that is, if we don't stop Putin in Ukraine, what's his next step? Because all the countries around Ukraine are NATO allies. Now, when you're an ally with another country, it means that if they are attacked, it's as if you were attacked, which would mean that American, soldiers, male, female, whichever, if you're wearing the uniform, you may be putting boots down to fight Soviets. Is that not your look at this as well?
Yeah, we have agreements, treaties, pacts, whatever you want to call them, with NATO that says if you're attacked, we will be there with boots on the ground and military equipment to defend you. And
now that's escalation. That would be escalation.
Yeah, right. But we learned a bitter lesson in World War II about letting these dictators and authoritarians just keep pushing and pushing, and that's what they look for. They look for weakness, and they fill those voids where there's weakness until they get a firm pushback. Now, Ukraine's got a lot of problems. I'll be the first to say that, but they are fighting against Putin, who unprovoked invaded their country and has killed a lot of people, just like Hamas invaded Israel, and like Iran and Hamas and all of them are talking about from the river to the sea, they want to wipe Israel out. And if somebody doesn't stand up to them, that's exactly what they will do. And China wants nothing more than to take Taiwan back in as part of its country. And
well, the president of China has said that's one of the things that has to happen, is that the unification of Taiwan with China.
Yeah, and they're not just saying this to make headlines. They're saying these things because they mean it, and that's exactly what they're going to try to do. Joe, I was looking back. One of my favorite speeches that Reagan gave was at Pointe du Hoc on the 40th anniversary of D-Day, and it's hard to imagine that we're coming up within just a few weeks of the 80th anniversary of D-Day. But I want to read this quote to you that Reagan said. He said, "We in America have learned bitter lessons from 2 world wars. It is better to be here ready to protect the peace than to take blind shelter across the sea, rushing to respond only after freedom is lost. We've learned that isolationism never was and never will be an acceptable response to tyrannical governments with an expansionist intent." And that's exactly what we're facing today, tyrannical governments with an expansionist intent. And Reagan said it best: we can't hide and take shelter across the sea and think it's not going to affect us, because eventually it'll be at our front door.
Yeah, Congressman, that is such a good point. But when we say we've learned our lesson,
have we really?
Some of us have. Okay, some of us have learned that, but I think what we've seen, even back to the Clinton administration and especially with the Obama and the Biden administration, is they didn't learn the lesson, because they have clearly let these authoritative and tyrannical people take those inches, inch by inch. How long before it really pushes us into that position to where it's escalated enough that, hey, they're going to put us in this spot? That's how pivotal this election is. Am I thinking correct?
Yeah, I think you're 100% accurate, Jimmy. And we're being attacked in ways we don't even realize. You mentioned Tik-Tok and ByteDance. I don't think people understand quite how serious this is. Senator Cotton has been, I'd say, the leader in Congress on moving this legislation to cause TikTok or ByteDance to divest of TikTok. And I called him the other day and was picking his brain about it, and he said in China, which the Chinese Communist Party controls their internet, they control everything. They limit people to how much TikTok they can view, and it's 40 minutes a day. But when they're on TikTok, it's giving them positive messages about studying hard and making good grades and those kind of things. That's what TikTok is used for in China. But he said you can go down to the Apple store, buy a brand new iPhone, turn it on and set up an account, download TikTok, make up an account and just put in there that you're a 15-year-old girl. He said TikTok will immediately start streaming body image videos and things like how to vomit after you eat where your parents don't know. That's the kind of content it starts pushing. If you only tell it you're a 15-year-old girl with no history or background, he said you put in there that you're a 15-year-old boy, and it starts streaming pornography and other things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to people need to really read up on and understand. I mean, there's all kinds of information out, medical information, psychological information about how TikTok works and how, it's the perfect propaganda tool. Now, why would we give them the opportunity to poison our young people's minds?
Yeah, and we've been a country that try to protect our young people, and we're looking in astonishment that these protests that are happening at some of these Ivy League institutions. They're actually happening around the country, and you think when you're being fed propaganda, and I've seen studies that show that people under 30 years of age get 70% of their news from TikTok.
Yep, over 70.
Social media, yeah, but TikTok alone. And you've got a Chinese, a company owned by the Chinese Communist Party, which it is the Chinese Communist Party, that's controlling the content and the algorithms that are feeding the minds of our youth in this country.
Yeah, would we allow the CCP to own a network television company in the United States and push out disinformation and propaganda? I don't think so.
Well, and I would argue that would be less damaging than this social media app.
I think you're 100% correct with that statement. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Congressman, we've had this conversation before where you have used this analogy. The drug dealer cannot sell drugs until he gets people hooked on his drugs. This is the same approach, is get them hooked and then you've got them. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And back to the TV analogy, if you got a TV station, you're putting out one program or one piece of content at a time. With an app and with AI, they're profiling your likes and dislikes, and they're streaming stuff that pushes those buttons that causes that endorphin release that makes you more addicted to it. And you can see it's extremely dangerous.
All right, we got to get a break in here, Congressman. We'll come back, talk with Congressman Bruce Westerman some more. This whole TikTok, I got a couple of questions for him when he comes back. I want to know what the president's going to do. If he signs this bill, says we got to get rid of TikTok, are they going to stop using TikTok in his re-election campaign? I'll talk to the congressman about that when we come back here on the Dave Elswick Show. It's the absolute worst time going on right now to be dealing with joint pain. That's right. If your knees are hurting, your shoulders hurting, your back's hurting, this is the worst time. The weather's getting nice. You want to be outside. You might like to play a round of golf, play some, a set of tennis, get out and do some hiking, kick a soccer ball around with your grandkids, whatever. Well, don't go through the summer missing out on life. What you need to do is call QC Kinetics and do that today and find out how they can use biogenics to help your body give new life to your achy joints. Get your treatment from the end of a needle and not from a scalpel. This is the future of medicine. Pro athletes have been using it for decades. Now it's moved its way into our everyday lives. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation. Revolutionary treatments for joint pain are here. You call 501-222-8440, 501-222-8440. That's QC Kinetics, 501-222-8440.
Oh, such a clutch pickup, Dave.
I know, right? I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
Oh, no, I meant those blackout motorized shades. MVP of the room.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. Even you can do it.
Nice.
I installed these and then got some for my mom, too.
But you fly across the country to do the install?
Nope. Blinds.com can do it all. All she had to do was pick what she wanted. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Look at you, Hall of Fame son.
Oh, I just picked the winning team. They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Oh, Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT.
He shoots. He scores.
Go to Blinds.com for up to 40% off and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Go right now for up to 40% off at Blinds.com. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Introducing Club 52 from Arkansas State Parks, a club that's fun, full of adventure, and open to anyone. Just pick up a free passport at any state park visitor center and start exploring. With every state park you visit, you get a stamp. When you get all 52 stamps, you're in the club. And you get some pretty cool rewards along the way. So grab your passport and start exploring. Club 52 from Arkansas State Parks. Get out to get in.
Brought to you by this station and the Arkansas Broadcasters Association.
There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer. We have truth on our side. Truth, common sense, and the belief in what's right and who's telling the lies. That's why we exist. 101.1 FM, The Answer. The #1 mistake business owners in Central Arkansas make is thinking that digital marketing means posting to a social media account. Hey, it's not their fault. They've just never been educated on what digital marketing is, how it works, and how inexpensive it can be. They want to reach new customers, but they just feel stuck. Here's some great news. The sales team at our station are experts in all things digital. If you ever want to talk about it, we'd love to help. Call us at 501-404-6560. Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick, 101.1 FM, The Answer.
All right, we've got Congressman Bruce Westerman on the line with us. And Congressman, this whole Tik-Tok thing, the president says that he's going to sign that legislation that will make ByteDance divest themselves of TikTok. ByteDance is owned by the Communist Party of China, the CCP. So the president is using TikTok for his re-election to talk to young people. Do you think that he's going to come off of TikTok if he signs a bill that says TikTok is bad for our youth?
Well, that'll be very interesting to follow. You know, the language says that ByteDance has 9 months to divest of TikTok, and it has to be owned by a U.S. company. So will Biden say, well, it's 9 months till this goes into effect, but we're going to go ahead and use it in the campaign, because TikTok really targets Biden voters. I mean, it targets a lot of people, but especially Biden voters, because it's more younger people. But that'll be fun to watch to see if they quit using it, or if they say, you know, it's bad for the country, but it's good for our campaign.
All right. I had a person sent me a text, and here's what they had to say. We were talking about Ukraine, and then they hit me and said, our border, ? Not secure. Our border first. So I'm assuming they're saying before we spend any more money in Ukraine, we should be spending it on our border. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I've made that argument for a long time. I voted against Ukraine funding before because we were using it for leverage to get to fund the border. And if you look at what happened last fall, we had a bill. It was a clean bill, a continuing resolution to fund the government at the same levels the government's funded at right now, with border patrol in it, or border control in it. There were 21 Republicans that voted against that bill because they said the budget cuts weren't enough. And that's when we have the peak leverage. We have the most ability to tie border security to a must-pass bill. And people got greedy and killed it. And then every time we tried to put border security on something else, it went nowhere. It couldn't even get out of the Rules Committee, a Republican-controlled committee on rules, for this last vote. So I hope it's a lesson we learned from, that we lost all of our leverage on border security and the government funding last fall. And we had a vote. We had another vote to pass H.R. 2 and tie it to this same legislation, but it failed on the floor as well. So we've tried every angle we can try to get the president to do something on border security, but the bottom line is Congress doesn't even have to act. Joe Biden can secure the border right now. He can go back to the same policies he removed when he became president that Trump had in place that were securing the border. So I still say the southern border, the invasion of our border, is the number one issue in our country right now, even above Ukraine and Iran and China, as bad as those are. But getting a Democrat Senate and a Democrat president to work with us on that has been virtually impossible. And you know they don't want to do it because Biden could fix it right now. But it doesn't change the fact that Ukraine's at a critical point. Israel needs our help, and China's looking to go into Taiwan. So that complicates the issue, but it doesn't change the fact of what's happening on the ground. And also, there's part of this that hasn't been talked about enough in the news cycle, but much of this money is not going just for military equipment for Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan, but it's to replenish equipment that's been depleted in our stocks here in the U.S. And also, a lot of this equipment is made in Camden. So the stuff that's been most effective against Putin are the HIMARS systems that come right out of Camden, Arkansas.
So if it's all signed, then you would think that in Camden they'll be probably hiring some extra people to catch up with the stockpiles, correct?
Yeah, because they need to produce more than they're able to produce right now. And there are some amazing facilities down at Highland Industrial Park in East Camden. And, these are true American patriots that are building the weapons of democracy.
Congressman, I think the people have come to the reality that the only way to fix the problem at the southern border is to get Biden out of office and elect President Trump, because on day one he's going to put into action what he did before to stop the bleeding, to plug the holes in the dam. But my question is, if we're blessed enough that President Trump wins and we hold the House and we get the Senate, what is the House Republicans prepared to do immediately to put into legislation to we don't have to worry about executive orders to control the borders, that we're going to put legislation in that solidifies the border being secure?
Well, Jimmy, we'll do what we've already done. We'll pass it's called H.R. 2, the Secure Our Border Act. Mm-hmm. And H.R. 2 had those executive orders and policies that the Trump administration had in place we just codify those and make them part of the law so another president can't come in and change them. I mean, we passed that bill and sent it to the Senate. Chuck Schumer could take it up and pass it, but Chuck Schumer doesn't want that passed, and Biden doesn't want to sign it because they intentionally want the southern border open. I wish we had more power as the 1/2 of 1/3 of the federal government, but at the end of the day, we passed a bill that will secure the southern border, and the Senate and the White House won't do anything with it. And you know the White House doesn't want to have anything to do with it because they won't use the authority that they have to close the border right now. But give us the House, the Senate, and the President, and we will pass H.R. 2 again out of the House. You've got the issue with 60 votes in the Senate, but I think we can find a way to get border security through the Senate and on the President's desk.
All right. Congressman Bruce Westerman. Bruce, we thank you for your time today on this Wednesday, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, Dave. Y'all have a great rest of the week.
We will have that. Thank you so much. We will have another hour of the Dave Elswick Show for you starting at 9:05. Don't forget 8:05. Don't forget at 9:35, Congressman French Hill will join us talking about the Malinowski killing by the ATF. That's all coming up here on the Dave Elswick Show.
This is the Dave Elswick Show. Find him on Twitter and on Facebook at Dave Elswick Show. Dave Elswick Show.
Find us at 1011 FMTheAnswer.com. Download our apps. Stream us 24/7. KDXE, Little Rock, Chemic Village.
Need to sell your home fast?
Call my dad. His name is Samson. He owns Sachs Homes.
501-681-1441. Need to avoid foreclosure?
Call or text my dad.
Tired of being a landlord? Need to sell an inherited home?
Call or text my dad.
501-681-1441. Know someone in a hurry to sell?
Dad pays a referral fee. Visit SachsHomes.com for a quick cash offer.
It's SAX, SachsHomes.com.
501-823-0965. The Dave Elswick Show. 101.1 FM. The Answer.
All right, back with you, 8 o'clock hour, Dave Elswick Show. And want to come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the podium gate that's going on. And I think I made my point succinctly last week in that I believe that the most salient point of all of this is not the podium itself, but the dual thought process that's going on between the audit committee and the governor's office. The audit committee said, okay, here's what you did and it wasn't right and you didn't do these accounting procedures and things of that nature. And then the governor's office said, okay, but see, we're not under the same rules that state agencies are under. Who's right on this? The AG seems to go with the governor, which makes sense since the AG works for the governor. But there's a lot of people who do not believe what the AG is saying carries that much weight. I always remind you about AG's opinions. That last word is really important. It's not the AG's law. It is the AG's opinion.
Yes, that's correct. But we're going to talk about that too. Jennifer Lancaster is about to be here, and she's really studied it. But there's a couple of other aspects to this that the governor and the attorney general aren't talking about. And I based a post that I did Sunday off this, which caused quite a bit of discussion across the state. And while we're waiting for Jennifer to walk in, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Because that's going to be the topic of the first part of the discussion we have with Jennifer. And it's titled, What the Governor and the Attorney General Aren't Talking About. I said, Governor Sanders and AG Tim Griffin have been screaming at the top of their lungs that his AG opinion 2024-056 exonerate her from findings in the legislative audit concerning accounting and budgetary procedures laws pertaining to the purchase of the now famous custom podium. Their offices have even been trying to discredit the legislative audit team, with Deputy AG Ryan Owsley stating he is perplexed with their findings. Well, I hate to tell you, Ryan, but there's nothing confusing or hard to understand about the facts the audit team uncovered. It's as simple as 1 + 1 = 1. At first, it seemed many were looking at the AG opinion as if it was weighted in concrete, but the more you look at it, it seems like it's weighted in quicksand. But we're going to have that conversation a little later on. For now, let's talk about what else is in the audit findings that Sanders and Griffin don't want to say much about. The legislative audit findings show that the governor's office and the Department of Transformation and Shared Services violated Arkansas Freedom of Information Act, along with tampering with public record. Now, it's important to understand the legislative audit team does not have prosecutorial powers, so they had to be a little more cautious by stating potential noncompliance with the law. However, the findings couldn't be any clearer. On September 11th, 2023, Matt Campbell sent an FOI request for records related to the podium and purchase. The audit team found that on that day, the DTSS, Department of Transportation Shared Services, their staff compiled 151 pages of documents responsive to the request. On September 15th, DTSS provided Campbell with only 140 pages of documents. The audit team found that DTSS excluded 14 invoices paid with Governor Sanders' credit card. That violates Arkansas Code 2519-105, which is, I won't read the law, but it's in the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act as far as records. Now, Arkansas Code 2519-104 states, any person who negligently violates any of the provisions of this chapter shall be guilty of a Class C misdemeanor. I would say these actions definitely qualify. Now, in early June, the podium was purchased by the governor with a state credit card. In other words, taxpayer funds. Now, remember, the FOI request was sent on September 13th, 2023, right? On September 14th, the Deputy Chief of Staff asked the Republican Party of Arkansas to reimburse the state for the podium purchase, and the RPA issued a check that day for $19,029.25. The Deputy Chief of Staff on the same day then asked an assistant to print a copy of the invoice, which had to be entered in the system on June 28th, and make a notation on it to be reimbursed. The audit also uncovered another version of the invoice with a notation to be reimbursed, written differently than the other version. So in effect, now you have three versions of the invoice, the original and two that were altered. Now, here's what's plain as the nose on your face. When the FOI request was received, Governor Sanders was caught using taxpayer funds to purchase the podium in a manner which the audit team concluded violated state laws. To cover that up, the governor's office quickly enlisted the RPA to reimburse the state for the podium and altered two invoices to make it look like that was the plan from the very beginning. The altercation of the invoice under Arkansas Code 551-121 is tampering with public record. A person commits the offense of tampering with public record if with the purpose of impairing the validity, legibility, or availability of a public record, he or she knowingly makes a false entry or falsely alters any public record. Tampering with public record in this case would be a Class D felony. Now, the audited team has forwarded the report to the Pulaski County Prosecutor, Will Jones. Now, we already know Griffin is trying to...
And Will Jones now, from what I'm understanding, has gotten that information.
Yes, they forwarded it to him. Now, we already know Griffin is trying to cover for Governor Sanders, but the question now is what is Jones going to do? We've seen this movie too many times to not already know the ending. I'm not holding my breath on Jones doing what is right, but maybe, just maybe, he will surprise us. Now, here's the reality. No one should be shocked by this because it's undeniable that ever since Governor Sanders has been elected, she has shown a pattern of complete lack of respect for belief in government transparency. She has been dishonest with the people in her approach to gut our Freedom of Information Act, and now we can add thumbing her nose at state laws to the resume. Make no mistake, the legislative audit team did one hell of a job conducting an unbiased investigation into the matter, providing a record of facts. What they've got for their efforts is criticized and maligned by the governor's office and Attorney General Tim Griffin's office, but may I remind both of them, the audit team is not the ones being dishonest, unethical, and violating state laws.
If, now again, there's a big if hanging out there. If the governor is right, that the governor's office is not under the same laws as state agencies, then all of this is no fruit to be had there.
No, that's not. That's a different subject. What I'm talking about here in the Post is not the accounting laws. Okay, what I'm talking about is the violation of the Arkansas Freedom of Information Act and tampering with public record and the fact of the cover-up. So this part, what I'm talking about in the Post, has nothing to do with whether the accounting laws apply to them or not. The AG's opinion doesn't talk about the violations of the Freedom of Information Act or tampering public record. It sticks strictly to whether the governor has to follow the accounting procedures. Okay, this is totally separate, and that's why when Jeffrey gets here, we're going to talk about this, but we'll talk about it because they're separate subjects. The reality is this: from what the audit team has uncovered, they clearly violated the Freedom of Information Act. They've clearly tampered with public record. When you look, the request was sent on September 11th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then on September 14th, that's when the RPA was asked to reimburse. Now, the purchase was made in June by the governor. What the audit also found out is when this started, you and I talked about it on the show, and I said, let's wait till we get the audit because we really don't know.
We both have said that. Absolutely.
And matter of fact, I remember stating that I said, look, I don't think that this was the governor's purchase. I assumed this was a staff member's purchase that the governor really didn't know about. What we find out from the audit is this was actually the governor's purchase. The governor wanted this, and the governor okayed it and made the decision to purchase it back in June. Okay, instead of using a purchase order system, they said, no, we're just going to use a state credit card, which bypasses those accounting laws, right? But what the crux of what I'm saying in the Post is part one. Part two is the accounting procedure. Part one is they clearly violated the Freedom of Information Act by not giving the documents. They only gave 140 out of 151 documents, and they held out 14 different invoices. The invoices that they altered. So on the 11th, the FOI request goes out. On the 14th, that's when they say, hey, let's get the RPA to reimburse this. And then they altered the invoices to make it look like that was the plan the whole time, that they were going to have the RPA reimburse them that they were going to do that when they made purchases in June. But in reality, they didn't do that till after the FOI request.
Okay, so
that's a cover-up.
Well, here's the $64 million question. If the governor came out and said, yeah, I went ahead and bought it, what's the repercussions for that?
What's the repercussions for violating the Freedom of Information Act?
What's the repercussion? There isn't any.
There is,
because there's no teeth to it.
Well, there's teeth that they violated the Freedom of Information Act. There's teeth that
they violated, but what can you do to them? Nothing.
Well, no, that's not true.
Unless you're going to sue them.
No, that's not true. That's my point. They have violated criminal laws. That's my point. My point is it's up to the prosecutor to prosecute them. Now, are we going to get into a double standard?
They have Jimmy, a double standard. That's been part of the law since the law started.
I agree, but it also goes down to this point, okay? They violated criminal law. They violated the Freedom of Information Act. That's a criminal law. They violated Title V, tampering with public record. That's a criminal law. One is a misdemeanor, one is a felony. Okay? If I commit a felony, I'm going to get charged. The whole question is for Will Jones.
I'll see that you're not.
Yeah. So there's two subjects here, right? There's the accounting procedures, okay? And then there's the violation of the Freedom of Information Act and the tampering with public record. What nobody can deny is that they tried to cover this up. They tried to make it look like they were going to be reimbursed the entire time when they weren't. I mean, there's no denying that fact. The question now is the prosecutor going to do anything about it? It goes back to Frank Scott.
You want to hear what I think? No.
Well, but see, that's a problem. That's a problem because what government has done is they've set it up where they're not accountable for anything. And for a citizen to have recourse, they can't go to the prosecutor because the prosecutor won't do anything. Well, we're going to give, I'm not going to say it because Will hadn't made his decision yet. Okay? But I know what happened with Frank Scott on the same situation because I'm the one that filed the incident report.
Nothing happened.
Larry Jigley said, hey, I'm going to turn it over to the Arkansas State Police for investigation. Jimmy, I'm going to get the FBI involved. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And guess what happened?
It disappeared.
But Jennifer's here. I want to get her in here. But first I want to make this point.
We got to go to a break. Go ahead.
I get sick of the only recourse a citizen has, what the government tells us, is they violate criminal laws, but really the only resource the citizen has to go hire an attorney, pay money out of your pocket to sue them, and guess who pays their defense fund?
They do.
We do.
Yeah.
Taxpayers.
So I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying I think there's much bigger fish to fry in what is being said here, that the governor's office is saying they do not answer to the law like state agencies.
I think a felony is pretty big fish to fry. If I'm committing it, I'm going to get fried.
I'm going to tell you what. Your felony that you're talking about to me is small potatoes compared to a lot of things that are going on in state government.
So we're just going to overlook felonies?
I'm just saying it. I look at it.
We don't overlook robbing a 7-Eleven for $3,000. Why would we overlook this?
But we do for $10.
No,
I'm just saying. Yeah, a lot of people have been.
There are a lot of people in prison.
Put him on probation.
Show me the last government person that went to prison for tampering.
Show me the last person who went to prison for $10 stealing.
We're not talking about $10. We're talking about the governor.
You brought it up.
No, we're talking about the governor of the state of Arkansas committing felonies, and we're going to overlook it.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
I'm just saying it's going to happen.
But it's wrong.
I didn't say it wasn't wrong. I'm just saying it's going to happen.
And we're going to see what Will Jones does. But that's a problem. Why does the governor get a hall pass?
We're in this position because we keep overlooking these, quote, small fry issues.
Mm-hmm.
We're now to the point where these...
We're
being
wait.
Stop.
Why is it now that a Republican is in office, we can't overlook this?
Why should we overlook it?
No. I'm with you, but they have been for years, hundreds of years. But now, all of a sudden, because we got a Republican,
what does Republican and Democrat have to do with it? Laws were broken.
All right, I got to take a break. I'll be back to talk about this. All right, I'll be back to talk about it. East End Towing. Don't forget about East End Towing. What they'll do for you. You break down on the side of the road, they'll come out and take care of you. You break down on your driveway even, they'll come out and take care of you. That's what they're good, taking care of you. But you got to call them. Their phone number is 501-888-8849, 501-888-8849. Anything, anytime, anywhere, East End Towing.
Dennis Prager, now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from big tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
He's back. That's right. The Doc Washburn Show.
Listen each Tuesday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer. He's been off the air for 2.5 years and is ready to tackle the topics the others avoid and give his unique insight on breaking news and controversial issues. It's the Doc Washburn Show, Tuesday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer. It's the Doc Washburn Show.
Here at 101.1 The Answer, we're dedicated to you. Yeah, we talk about the issues that matter most and provide unique insights so that you'll be as informed as possible. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. So, thinking about climbing Pikes Peak? Yeah, well, you can get this radio station there, too. TuneIn.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. We're always on 101.1 The Answer. Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
All right, back. All right. My point is only this, Jimmy. I'm not saying that there weren't laws broken, okay? But my question is, why is it such a bad thing now? And I say only because there's a Republican in office. If this had been Bibi, not spit, squat, crap would have been done about it. Not a thing. Even the Blue Hog writer himself would have never reported it.
That might be true about Blue Hog.
I don't know. I don't know if it would be true about Blue Hog because Matt Campbell, who I don't like Matt. He doesn't like me, so okay. But Matt reported on Frank Scott and brought a lot of the stuff out on Frank Scott and actually sued Frank Scott for violating the Freedom of Information Act. So I don't want to say that. What I do want to say is, we can say, okay, well, if this was a Democrat, wouldn't squat be said. That's not true. If this was a Democratic governor, you would see Republicans in the RPA running around with pitchforks. My point is, that should not matter. That should not matter.
And I'm going to say you're naive if you think it doesn't matter.
No, I didn't say it doesn't matter. I said it should not matter.
I think there's also a reason why we haven't had a Democrat governor for quite some time. It's because we don't approve of that kind of behavior. We expect better from our Republicans.
Not true.
And you may disagree. Oh, well,
not true.
I do, personally. I can't speak for everybody else.
You voted Republican governor because you thought Chris Jones would get away with everything.
No, get away. Well, that's a very broad statement. But no, I voted Republican because I expect her to uphold the Republican values that we espouse.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
That's more clear.
And there's accountability and transparency that comes with that, even within our own Republican Party platform. So that is why, and we are going to hold everyone equally accountable. I know Jimmy does. Jimmy's gone after both Republicans and Democrats.
So am I.
Yes, you have too. So, I think we're getting a little off topic to start arguing that, well, if this was a Democrat, we wouldn't say anything. We would. Maybe the liberal media wouldn't, but we, the conservatives, the people
if it's a Republican, the liberal media will be sure that they say something.
But I think
if this had been Bibi, do you really think the Arkansas Times would be paying much attention to it?
No.
Okay.
But I'm not worried about the Arkansas Times. I'm worried about right and wrong.
Am I right or am I wrong? That if it's a Republican, they zero in on the Republican, but
the Arkansas Times would.
Okay, thank you.
The
very
liberal
much.
Yes, and I think that's a different.
So would all the
right
TV
now
stations.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. My point is this: as a Republican, and maybe I'm reaching for pie in the sky, that believes in conservatism and public values, I want to hold my people in the party to a higher standard. Well, if that's too high, how about we just hold them to the same standard? Okay, and if we hold them to the same standard as we would a Democrat, because we would be saying, hey, if Bibi did this, Republicans would be up in arms. So if we're going to hold, at least let's hold ourselves to the same standards we would hold a Democrat to. My question is, can anybody deny that they violated the Freedom of Information Act and they tampered with those invoices? Can anybody deny that?
I don't think anybody can deny that, Jimmy.
That's my point. And that's my point. And we should call it out. Whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, we should say, no, that's wrong. You covered up. You committed felonies. You did it on purpose. This was coordinated. When you're telling staff members to, break, sorry.
Yeah, get a break in. I was going to let you speak right up to the break, but we got to get the break. All right, we got to go to break, and we got Sean Hannity here on the Dave Elswick Show.
QC Kinetics announces the arrival of National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, an acclaimed orthopedic surgeon with 2 decades of experience and extensive research in regenerative medicine.
I was one of the first orthopedic surgeons to do it, and at the same time I integrated clinical research that's resulted in several publications that are really directing the future of regenerative medicine. I was drawn to QC Kinetics after I reviewed their protocols, and everything they were doing is consistent with my own approach.
Today, Dr. Scheinkup leads the entire team of medical professionals at QC Kinetics, taking this exciting medical breakthrough to a whole new level.
What we are doing at QC Kinetics is transforming lives.
Get lasting joint pain relief. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics, 501-222-8440. That's 501-222-8440. 501-222-8440.
Hi, this is Jerry Garrison from Little Rock's Asset Protection Wealth Management. We are frequently asked about how to protect one's family financially from catastrophic, unexpected costs associated with having to go to a nursing home or assisted living facility. These costs can derail even a great retirement plan if not addressed. Of course, long-term care insurance can protect some of those costs, but what we have seen is the cost for long-term care insurance itself has increased so much the premiums alone can affect retirement. We've been able to show clients that there may be a better way by leveraging some of your current assets to provide this protection by utilizing asset-based long-term care. Rather than paying long-term care insurance premiums the rest of your life for something you may never use. You really owe it to yourself to look at this financial idea's ability to protect and preserve your retirement. No cost, no obligation. To find out if it makes sense for you, give us a call today, 501-225-9045, or go to our website at apwealthmanagement.com to schedule a visit.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos. Fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Your home for Bill O'Reilly 4 times a day. 7:30 a.m. during the Dave Elswick Show, and 2:30, 3:30, and 4:30 p.m. during Sean Hannity, exclusively on 101.1 FM. The Answer. If you can snap your fingers, you can find this radio station. So the next time you want to listen to us, your smartphone is now your smart radio. We're always on 101.1. The Answer. Watch The Dave Elswick Show live on Facebook, weekdays at 7 on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Here's your forecast on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
We see increasing clouds through the day and temperatures that will continue to be warm. We'll see 77 degrees for the high temperature and the chance of a passing shower. The better chance for showers will be tonight. They'll be scattered, and the better chance for thunderstorms comes on Thursday. The weather over the next few days remains unsettled, with thunderstorm chances continuing through the weekend. Tonight's low will be 58, and highs on Thursday will be closer to 70. From the Channel 7 Weather Center, I'm James Bryan.
This is the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 FM, The Answer.
All right, back with you here on the Dave Elswick Show. Jennifer Lancaster is here with us as well. We've brought her in to help us out a little bit. And Jennifer, thanks for coming in. I know it was hell driving, down I-30. The I-30 corridor between Benton Bryant and getting to Little Rock is terrible in the morning.
Yes, and unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yes, it was this morning.
It's like going through Mayflower when you're coming from Conway.
Mayflower Flats, it can be something. I think we've covered the Freedom of Information Act and the Tampering with Public Record and that aspect of it. I do want to make one point before we move on, though, that you can't unconnect these dots. And I reached out to Joseph Wood, the chairman of the Republican Party of Arkansas, and asked him to come on the show. He didn't respond. That's fine. I would really like to talk to him, because when this purchase was made, the director of the Department of Transformation and Shared Services that oversees this stuff was Joseph Wood. He became the RPA chairman in August of 2023 and stepped down. The head of the RPA, when they issued the check to the governor for $19,000 to reimburse for the podium was Joseph Wood. And so we'd like to give him opportunity to talk about this. So if he's out there listening, hopefully he gives us a holler. We'd love to have him on. Having said that, the transition to the question that I have, that Dave has, that we put Jennifer in the hot seat on the answer. Let's talk about the AG's opinion versus the audit team's opinion, and you be the judge. You're in the judge's seat, so go with it.
Oh, I like this. I just need a robe. Okay, so we're going to talk about Tim Griffin's opinion. The first question, so this arose when the governor requested an opinion from the Attorney General Griffin, and it is a three-part question, one of which is are constitutional offices, quote, agencies within the GABPL's general definition of agencies, which is codified at ACA 19.4.102. So in layman's terms, is the governor's office an agency subject to certain accounting procedures that the legislature has laid out? So, of course, I go, as a lawyer, I go and I look at 19.4.102. And it states, but I want to first point something out. This is under Title 19, Public Finance, Chapter 4, titled State Accounting and Budgetary Procedures, and this is general provisions, okay? Now, the question and the focus, primary focus of Tim Griffin's opinion is Section 1A, which says, it is the policy of the state of Arkansas. Now, when we're interpreting statutes, we look at the plain meaning, okay? So, it is the policy of the state of Arkansas to maintain on a sound financial basis the state and all of its agencies, boards, commissions, departments, and institutions, all referred to in this chapter as agencies, unless otherwise necessary. So one thing I want to point out is that the AG focuses on agency, but would you not think that an institution, the governor's office, would be considered an institution, which under Merriam-Webster is defined as an established organization or corporation, especially of a public charter. So I would argue that it is an institution. The governor's office is an institution, but if you go to the legislative audit report, and it talks about how DTSS authorized this purchase. DTSS, department. Mm-hmm. If we look at that definition again, A1A, it's maintained on a sound financial basis the state and all of its agencies, boards, commissions, and departments. So you have both of the entities that are involved in this actually, yes, defined, but I actually have even more evidence that, in fact, she is subject to this. If you read a little bit further down, we're going, same statute, again, general provision, so this applies to the entire thing. Section B, provide adequate accounting for all fiscal transactions and provide for uniformity in budget preparation, presentation, and execution. Just this week we've been reading about how the governor is proposing a budget, correct? I mean, and another thing that we as attorneys look at, and judges, when you're looking and interpreting a statute, you want to make sure, among other things, that you don't end up with an absurd result. In my opinion, to prevent the governor, or to argue that the governor is not subject to this policy, would be saying, okay, governor, you get to choose the budgetary policies and the accounting methods that you want. That doesn't even make sense. You have an entire institution here, or the state government. They should all be on the same accounting methods and procedures, should they not? That's going to allow...
Should, but are they?
Well, they are, and we're going to get into that. But you already see here with the intent, that's what this section is called. And and even as the AG says, we look at the intent of the legislature. Well, they spelled it out for us. They want uniformity in budget preparation and for all fiscal transactions.
All fiscal transactions.
All. I highlighted it. All right here. Okay. But then we go even a little bit further. So he just took this one little section out, took this one little word out, and contorted it until it's meaningless almost. But look at this. Establish uniformity in operating and capital budget preparation, presentation, and execution by establishing certain duties, responsibilities, and functions of the executive and legislative branch.
Executive is a key word there, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, the governor's office is part of the executive branch. Now, I'm still just within the intent section that the governor specifically asked about. He just didn't read the rest of that.
Now, the intent is law, correct?
Well, this explains.
This is codified, right?
Yes, this explains the intent of the legislature, which helps guide in the interpretation of the remaining statutes. So then, if you look over here, if you go to Section B, this is where it almost gets comical, in my opinion. Comprehensive budgeting and financial management system. It is also the purpose of this chapter to establish a comprehensive system of state budgeting and financial management, which will further the capacity of the General Assembly to plan and finance the services which it determines the state should provide for its citizens, and which will further the capacity of the governor to make budgetary recommendations to the General Assembly and execute the laws of the state. This shall include procedures for, I'm skipping one section, moving on to Section 2, the development, coordination, and review of long-range programs and their financing that will implement goals and policies authorized by the General Assembly and the governor. You see the governor actually specifically cited in this section. So to argue that she is not subject to these governmental accounting procedures, in my opinion, is ludicrous. But I have more.
No, you're doing great. Keep going.
914-102. So again, this is where the AG stopped. He stopped right here and then just focused on the word agency. But he didn't go on to department. DTSS is a department that had a hand in this purchase. And then institution. I mean, I think we all agree.
Yeah, well, DTSS is the one who made the purchase.
Yes. So they are subject to it.
Jennifer, let me ask you this. I want to jump in real quick because I find it funny that the AG's hanging his opinion on other AG opinions, 2011-040, the opinion which went to your word on institution. It says, does not specifically state it applies to constitutional officers generally, but by its terms, it applies only to an agency, institution, and department, which is exactly what you just read. And that's in the AG opinion 2011-040.
It's twisting it. And something I'd like to point out, because I harp on this a lot, the law is supposed to be written for the people, not for the benefit of the elected officials or offices. It's supposed to be written for the people. The people should be able to read this and come to their own conclusion without having to pay some high-priced lawyer to interpret it for them. What the AG did, that was contortion at its best.
Right.
This is very clear, but I want to go on because if we just go on to the very next section, I'm sorry, I just lost on my sections here. Her next question, which was, are constitutional offices subject to the requirements in 25-8-106? Well, again, let's go look at Title 25. You know what it's titled? State government.
Right.
State government. So we're already thinking, right, the state government is subject to these following statutes. Okay, the definition in 25-8-106, it says, now, I also want to tell you what the title of the subchapter is. Subchapter 4, Arkansas Financial Transparency Acts. So, in this subchapter, expenditure data means information provided by state agency regarding the spending of public funds that adequately identifies the purpose, amount, payor, and vendor if such disclosure is permissible under the Freedom of Information Act and federal laws. Now, it goes down and says state agency means any agency, department, authority, board, commission, bureau, council, or other agency of the state, excluding institutions of higher education. 2B says state agency includes without limitation the offices of the governor, lieutenant governor, AG, etc. But if we want to move on beyond that, the Department of Finance and Administration shall, because that is what the purpose of this statute is. I feel like I'm going too fast.
No, you're not. You're
so limited on time. So the duties of the Department of Finance and Administration, again, we're still under the section titled State Government, which has now defined a state agency as the governor's office, very specifically. You don't get more specific than that. The duties of the Department of Finance and Administration shall establish standards and criteria for each agency to report financial expenditures. So it's already been defined that the governor is an agency and the DFNA is going to establish those standards. But why are they doing that? Because they want to assist citizens and members of the General Assembly in overseeing the operation of state government in Arkansas and to allow for a higher degree of accountability and efficiency in the workings of all branches of state government. I just read that. That is 25-1402, legislative intent. So they said, hey, Department of Finance and Administration, come up with an accounting process for us so that we can all follow it, give us guidance, and this is going to apply to everyone, including the governor. And why? Because they were wanting to provide the people with more transparency and accountability, and of course, as we discussed earlier, uniformity. It ends up just providing the AG's opinion would result in absurdity, because you cannot have a full, this would be analogous to having a company and the departments within the company each get to use their own accounting procedures. Does not make sense. It would cause chaos, confusion. They would never get their taxes done or be able to know about their profits and losses. It just common sense would say that these uniform accounting procedures would apply to everyone. Furthermore, as we know, the basic Constitution says that the legislature has control of the purse, right?
Yeah,
they control the money. So they actually do have the authority to charge DFNA with saying, come up with accounting procedures that will be applicable to everyone. And I would also like to point out, I went to DFNA's website, and they had a manual, and within it, it specifically states that the governor's office, it outlines duties of the governor's office for reporting. So the governor's office has already subjected themselves to these statutes. But now they want to claim, when they're in the hot seat, oh, well, that doesn't apply to us. Really? Well, then why have you been complying with the statute and following DFNA and their manual for all these years, if not decades?
To your point, in the audit report on August 11th, the audit team found that the governor's office utilized marketing and redistribution, M&R, to dispose, and we're talking about what they were trying to say on the podium of disposing of it, to dispose various surplus state property, including microwave ovens, ice and water dispenser, wooden storage cabinet, refrigerator, and tabletop podium. So the governor's office has been applying these laws, just like you stated there. This is the one where they've been applying on M&R, and now all of a sudden they want to say, well, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But you've been doing it.
Right. So they.
Why all of a sudden?
All right, got to take a break. All right, got to pay the bills. So let's do that. Don't forget about my friends over at ICU Protection. You need a good security place. I suggest that you take the time to talk to ICU. What they will do is listen to you and do what you want done to get the security you want for your home. They don't come in and say, hey, look, we're going to do this, and you'll be secure. No, they listen to you. You may want more than 2 cameras. Typically, 2 cameras is about all you need, but maybe you want 3. They'll listen to what you want, and they'll do it. Even if they say you don't need it, but you say, I want it, okay, we'll put it in there. We'll take care of doing everything you want so that you feel secured. That's why at night, I go to bed, I arm my system, and I feel secure in my home because I sat down and talked to the folks from ICU Protection, took some of their ideas and integrated even into some of my ideas, and putting them together, came up with a great security program. 501-205-1333 is their number. Call them today and get the security you need and that you want from ICU Protection.
Ad paid for by AG Marketing Group. Attention timeshare owners. If you need to get rid of your timeshare for any reason, please listen to the following message. Getting out of a timeshare commitment is not easy, and it takes time. But we specialize in helping consumers legally get rid of their expensive timeshares forever. Can't get the vacation dates that work for you? Maybe you felt taken advantage of or forced into the timeshare? Maybe you just can't continue to shoulder those monthly payments any longer. If you need to eliminate your timeshare commitment, then you need to take down this number. 800-796-9107. We will safely and legally get rid of your timeshare payments forever, all with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't continue to let your timeshare be a financial burden to you and your loved ones. Call us now at 800-796-9107. The call is free. The consultation is free. Call 800-796-9107. That's 800-796-9107. Again, 800-796-9107.
Number 4141.
Tired of health insurance providers who treat you like just another number on a spreadsheet? If so, you'll love T-Chase Healthcare Solutions. She's putting the eye care in Medicare solutions. When you get Medicare insurance with T-Chase Healthcare Solutions, you'll always talk to a real person who understands your real concerns. Call now for a free Medicare breakdown book, 501-658-5127, or visit tchasehealthcaresolutions.com.
Stand Up to Cancer has been a critical partner in advancing research for cancer.
It's just so inspiring to do research that impacts human lives.
So please help us fight in this battle against cancer.
Be a part of the team that ends cancer at standuptocancer.org.
For the latest information about all the national and local elections, keep it right here. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
A lawyer.
Why?
So I can be the person I needed most when I was little.
When Dusty Dawn was 15, she was taken into DHS care. Today at Dusty Dawn Law, she helps clients with guardianship, adoption, and custody disputes. Call for a free 30-minute consultation at 501-516-4019 or visit DustyDawnLaw.com. Remember, DD, Dusty Dawn Law, dedicated and determined.
An Arkansas talk legend, Dave Elswick, on 101.1 FM, The Answer.
All right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour. So wrap up what we're getting to.
I'm gonna let Jen tell us. Dave and I got the same question, and basically, where does this leave this, Jen? So here we're gonna pose it to you. Okay, basically, the law says you got to follow this. The governor's saying, I disagree with the interpretation. I don't have to follow it. Therefore, I'm not going to follow it. You can't fix it legislatively until 2025. Where does that leave us, not just with the governor, but these other constitutional offices?
So, really what we're hearing here is rules for thee and not for me. But it's interesting, as I pointed out, at the last segment, was that she has subjected herself to this law. She has complied with it up until it became a problem. And now she wants to say she's above the law and that the law only applies to other bodies. So that alone is an issue. Now, I think that's a really good question that you guys are asking is, well, where does that leave us? So if she thinks she's above the law and it doesn't apply to her, so does that just mean she's not going to be reporting to DFNA? What does that mean? In her mind, does this mean that she can use whatever accounting method that she wants? Does this mean that she doesn't have to, she gets to make whatever purchases she wants? Because that's what I'm hearing. Now, I don't know. I'm not inside her head. Of course, I'm not privy to those discussions. But it is certainly worrisome because the offices should be subject to the same laws that the rest of us are.
Well, the clear argument that the AG has made, and her attorney, her chief legal counsel has made, and she is making, is that she doesn't have to follow the law. And it's kind of like she's saying, today I'll follow it if I feel like it, and tomorrow if I don't feel like it, I won't.
Yeah, isn't it scary, too, that an officer can come to that conclusion and just go get one of her buddies to issue an opinion that supports her position? That's very concerning.
That's scary.
It is very scary. And this is not something that we should tolerate from anybody, but especially Republicans. We are the party of limited government, of transparency, of accountability, and all that has just been thrown out the window.
You brought up something just then that I want to touch on. How does her actions square with the party platform?
Oh, in this situation, It doesn't. It doesn't. There is no way somebody can look at the party platform and say, yes, her behavior in this situation conforms with our party's platform. There is no accountability. And I think the embarrassing video that she released just a week or two ago that showed the lack of humility and accountability that we should expect from our leaders. There are genuine concerns about not only the purchase of this podium, but more importantly, how it's been handled. This isn't a lectern. This isn't about a lectern. I think that's something you have repeated over and over, and I agree with you. This isn't about a lectern. As I've said, if it was about a lectern, I wouldn't have even paid attention. I don't know what lecterns typically cost. I don't care. It didn't catch my attention until she attempted to gut FOIA last year after she got the Freedom of Information request about it. That's when we all started paying attention and looking at the timelines, and now we see that there's just a lack of integrity, a lack of accountability, a lack of transparency, and a lack of respect for the people of Arkansas.
I akin this to flipping off the people in the law.
Yes, I agree.
It's concerning. It's very concerning because it's not about a podium or lectern at all. It's about the actions. And the actions to me, and Jen seems to agree, the actions to me do not fall in line whatsoever with the party platform.
No.
The most concerning part to me is the intentional violation of laws to cover it up. And we can say, well, it's a left-wing attack. Well, you know, Matt Campbell, like I say, I don't like him, he doesn't like me, but that doesn't mean he's wrong.
Right.
He was right with that FOI. And, I mean,
I hate to admit it.
I
don't like him either.
You don't have to like the messenger to understand the message.
Right. This is about principle.
Yeah. And I do think we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard, but I'm going to say it again, if we're not going to hold ourselves to a higher standard as Republican Party, at least let's hold ourselves to the same standards we hold Democrats.
And I don't even think it's a higher standard. I mean, I have higher expectations of Republicans than I do Democrats. At this point, I would say they are completely nuts, insane, and just destroying our country.
I know we're about to wrap up, Dave, but I do want to tell people we're not going to be done with this because Jennifer's dug so much in this that I'm going to do a podcast with her and let her take this A to Z a little bit slower. So for folks out there, look, in the next few days, I'll have a podcast up with Jennifer, and she's going to take this piece by piece.
What's coming up at 9:05?
We got Lorri Justice, more hot issues and contention going on with the Republican women, Federation of Republican Women, and what they did to her, and Abby Rector, who we had on the show, what they did to them Saturday.
Are they both coming in?
Lori's coming. And Jim's going to stay with us to give analysis on that as well.
All right. Let's take a break, then we'll come back after the news.
This is the Dave Elswick Show. Find him on Twitter and on Facebook at Dave Elswick Show.
Dave Elswick Show. Find us at 1011FM, theanswer.com. Download our apps. Stream us 24/7. KDXE, Little Rock, Chemic Village.
Ministry leaders, if you think that people of faith should be leading the way in solving society's issues, we invite you to join 101.1 The Answer and the Americans for Prosperity Foundation for the Faith and Liberty Summit on May 3rd at Agape Church in Little Rock. This free event will provide the knowledge and the resources to help unify the faith community's role in civic life. Lunch will be provided, but space is limited. So register right now at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Use the promo code FAITH.
Are you looking for a meaningful way to preserve our nation's history? Consider purchasing a Blueprints of Liberty brick. Each purchase helps to build Liberty Village. By sponsoring a brick, you become a part of the Blueprints of Liberty Village, a unique destination that brings our founding history to life. This family-friendly location will provide an opportunity for youth and visitors to encounter history like never before. Visit UnitedWePledge.org to order your Blueprints of Liberty brick today.
Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick, 101.1 FM, The Answer.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? You can't handle the truth.
9 o'clock hour.
Already?
Yeah, we're moving along very like light speed right now.
Man.
We are moving along. By the way, before we get started in talking about anything else, let me pass on to you last night. We were meeting over in Lono, or night before last, meeting in Lono County in Cabot, and there was a piece of what was the exact wording? What is it exactly? A resolution. Thank you. I want to say law, but that's not what it is. It's a resolution that there in Cabot and in the Lone Oak Republican Party that we did not agree with the rules changes that are being presented coming up here in a few weeks, and it passed by unanimous decision. And now, Jimmy, you tell me that in Faulkner County,
Monday night,
you had about 80 people there, and only 4 people voted against.
I counted 4. Only 4. We had a resolution to oppose and condemn the rule changes that the RPA that are proposed, and it was overwhelming. I counted only 4 no's.
Well, the key is and I made this before we voted when we got into discussion. Courtney came up and read.
I love court.
And I spoke. I said, bottom line, what we're trying to do is keep the Arkansas Republican Party from centralizing all their power basically into the executive, the executive committee. I don't think it's right for them to try to take on all the different Republican sections and tell them one size fits all. There was a country that used to do that, and we fought against them in the Cold War. Just telling you, that's what a lot of it is. That's what communism is. It's centralization of power, and we don't want that.
No, and it's robbing the people of the power at the local committees. And it's funny we got Lorri Justice in here because if you want to know who spearheaded this whole deal on these resolutions that started going county to county, she's sitting here.
Well, it's because it's neutering the county committees, in essence, neutering the people.
It's taking away their power.
Right.
Lori's the one that got this thing started on those resolutions, her and Mike, and I think he's the one that presented one of them. But Lorri actually spearheaded this movement, which is probably another reason that the Federation of Republican Women have been targeting you, right?
Well, I'm sure there's lots of reasons, I mean, when you say the truth, people target you. That's just the way it is.
So we had you guys on. We had you and Abby Rector, and we talked about what y'all have been going through with the Federation of Republican Women, how they targeted you, how they didn't follow the rules, and I called it a persecution. That was my words. And last Saturday, they had a big meeting because you and Abby come on the radio.
Right.
And tell us what happened at this meeting.
Well, they were very upset we talked to you. And they called you a Democrat, by the way, which, just so you know.
Not the first time somebody's called me a Democrat.
Probably been called worse, I'm sure. They probably
Did
called
they say
you
I was a Democrat?
No, they didn't say you were a Democrat.
Not yet. Not yet.
That would be a stupid thing to say, I'm just going to say.
But, no, they were very upset. And, in fact, I was kicked out, which I think I mentioned here that I probably would be after coming on the show. And interestingly enough, when they did it, they voted all of us out, and they said, well, now Lorri Justice was not asked to resign. She was just asked to apologize. But because she went on the radio, we're now asking for her resignation, too. Well, they didn't ask for my resignation. They just kicked me out. And I do have to say that anybody can call into the show because they did not go into executive session. President Sharon Loyd declared executive session. That is not how you go into executive session per Robert's rules. A motion has to be made, seconded, and voted on the body, which was not done. So there was no executive session, which means anyone can call in and talk about whatever. My guess is they're not going to do it.
I've asked every one of them.
They don't give their side. They don't. No, when you start going public, they don't want to say anything. And here's the thing. I mean, they may gig me for going public, but it's the same thing as what happened with the Pulaski County Republicans. When you go within your own party and you go to leadership and you're like, when the leadership is the one who is not doing the right thing, who do you go to? I mean, you can get no relief. You have to tell what's happening, because if you don't talk, then they keep doing it. They keep doing it to other people, and it's not right. And that's how they've gotten away with it this long.
What they did in the past is not to do what they did on targeting you and Abby and Jacque Martin and others. They didn't follow their own bylaws and rules in doing that.
Right.
So what they did Saturday to you and Abby and Jacque, did they follow the rules?
No, they didn't. In fact, there is a removal policy that has been on the website of NFRW for a long time. The last revision was done in October. Interestingly enough, when you go to that section now, it's removed. And, understand, Julie Harris became president of NFRW in January.
Now tell people who Julie Harris is. She's Arkansas. She's been part of the Arkansas Federation.
Correct. So she is now the president of the National Federation of Republican Women.
Where is she out of?
She is out of Northwest Arkansas.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I just want to make the point. She's the national president, but how she got to that is she lives here in Arkansas, and jump in there, Jim.
Really good friend. She is really good friends with Joseph Wood, and I believe they worked together for quite some time.
Okay.
And she's friends with Sharon Loyd and, Nikki Beaver and all of those people.
And these are the big players. I'm going to call them the establishment.
Right. And in fact, Julie Harris is the secretary for the state party. So she's got a position on the executive committee for the party as well. Right. So now when you go and you look on the website for the removal policy for officers, now it just says that to go to Robert's rules. So they still didn't follow Robert's rules, okay? Because when you go to Robert's rules, it talks about trials. And June Wood actually asked this past weekend, well, what do you mean? There were a couple people that stood up. I believe it was Courtney, and, a couple people talked about the trial.
Courtney rolled in, down in Cavin.
And so she said, well, what do you mean about a trial? Well, it's right here. If you go to Robert's rules and you look in section 6330. Section 63 talks about investigations and trials for removal of officers, and it says trial procedure. The trial is a formal hearing on the validity of the charges. Now, understand, we have been provided with no charges. And I said this the other day. I've been given no charges, and I have been not told what bylaws did I break. Right?
You don't even know what you're accused of.
No. I mean, I was accused of talking to...
Other than hanging out with me and Dave, that's it,
right? So I have had no charges leveled against me in writing, or even told. what charges they have against me. So at the trial, the evidence against the accused officer or member is presented by the managers for the society, and the officer or member has the right to be represented by counsel and to speak and produce witnesses in his own defense.
This sounds a whole lot like an impeachment trial.
It does.
I mean,
doesn't
to
it?
be honest, that's what it sounds like.
But our trial, if you will, consisted of evidence, quote, evidence presented against us that we had no knowledge of. We didn't know what was going to be presented. We had to sit there. We weren't allowed to speak. Now, in the executive committee, we each got to speak for a couple of minutes, but there was no, like, hey, let me tell my side. Give me equal time and let me say what happened. That did not happen. And I did request a copy of the evidence against me and was told by Sharon Loyd, and this is all in a text or an email, no.
So the bottom line, it was a kangaroo court.
It absolutely was.
And may I add one thing to that? Everything Lorri said was true. She was reading exactly or directly from Robert's Rules of Order. But if you look at the AFRW bylaws, it has, I believe it's 5 sections under which somebody can be removed. Lorri, Jacque, and Abby were not guilty of any one of those. None of them. What really put Lorri under the spotlight was the fact that she attended a Hot Springs Village Republican Women meeting. She didn't say a word at that meeting, not publicly, not up front, not as a leader. She didn't say anything. But that's kind of what put her in the spotlight. But if we're going to be real honest, I'm going to tell you exactly why they were. So during the convention last year when there were elections, there was a slate. And within the Republican Party, leadership likes to handpick their people. Those who have groveled the most usually get those selections. Well, the Patriots within AFRW, they got together and they decided on their own individuals that they wanted to run. That was Lorri, Abby, Jacque, and another woman named Karen Maynard. Well, now, we chose not to run someone against Sharon Loyd because Jan Morgan told us she was a Patriot. Now, to Nikki Beaver's credit, she told us we would regret it. She specifically said she was an awful person. She told us about how she, I guess in one of her campaigns, she had received money from a Soros-funded group. So, I mean, she was right. She is definitely very hostile to the Patriots, and we even have that in writing. But that is really why those women were targeted. Now, Karen Maynard has not been because she has since been cozying up to those women. I
asked Karen, I want to make this quick. I asked Karen Maynard to come on here and talk about this, and she refused. So, I mean, I gave Karen Maynard the opportunity. I asked Jan Morgan. I called Jan Morgan. I texted her on the show last time. Come on and talk about this.
Yeah, she's called me and left me a voicemail, and I got to call her back.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, good.
She asked to talk to me. I'll call her. I have no problem with that.
I want to tell all of them right now that Dave is very welcoming. Everybody's got an open mic.
Yeah, let's all sit down. And one of, I think, my greatest disappointments has been that after our Patriots, Lorri, Abby, and Jacque were elected in, that should have sent a message to our new president, Sharon Loyd. And instead of reaching out to us and saying, okay, clearly there's something going on. What is your frustration? Let's talk about this. Let's start a civil dialogue. What she did was she has the authority under their rules to appoint members to committees. And so she went out, even outside AFRW, people who were not even members, hadn't been members, but she knew they would do her bidding, and she brought them in and appointed them to committee positions that she created, some that were already in place, which ultimately ended up shifting some of that influence back to the establishment side. So even though the people had spoken at the convention that they wanted the more patriot grassroots folks, she went in and shifted that back to the establishment. And that is how they have been able to target Lorri, Jacque, and Abby, because there's clearly no respect for the grassroots folks. And
okay, I got to get a break in. One thing I'll say before we go to break is it really bothers me when the word patriot is made into a pejorative.
Yeah.
That hurts my heart. It really does. All right, let's take a break. PI Roofing wants you to know that they're ready to help you in a couple of ways. One, with your roof. I mean, it's in their name. They've been doing it for over 20 years, and they'll do the best job that can be done for your roof. All you got to do is give them a call. They come out, they'll walk your roof, they'll look, they'll see if there's problems, they'll tell you Do you need a whole new roof? Do you need a piece of a roof? Do you need, new, plywood on your roof? How far do you got to tear it down? All of that. And then they'll tell you, what the cost is going to be. You will, of course, tell them who your insurance company is. They'll work with your insurance company, talk to them, get their appraiser out, and sit down with the folks at PI Roofing, and PI Roofing will back up everything that they're asking to do. Hopefully, all you end up doing is paying your deductible as far as the new roof goes. Secondly, they are a general contractor, which means they can do other work around your house. Big contracting companies, they're not really interested probably in building a small deck in your backyard, but PI Roofing would be. You decide what you want done, you call PI Roofing, they'll come out, they'll talk to you, see what it is that you want them to build or to fix, and then they'll give you an estimate and you go from there. You use the same number for roofing or just for using them as, doing work at your house. 501-707-3115. That's 501-707-3115. That's PI Roofing or PIRoofing.com.
Worried about inflation, digital currencies, political turmoil, and the future of your investments? It's time to take control with Conservative Wealth Protection Group. During these times, central banks are buying gold and precious metals at record levels. But the question is, are you? With access to the cheapest bullion in the nation, we have a deep understanding of the precious metals markets. We'll reveal strategies that both the wealthy and everyday patriots just like you are using to get the most out of their tax-deferred retirement plans. With an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau, we provide guidance without high-pressure sales tactics. Our No Fees for Life IRA program offers the lowest prices on precious metals, along with tax-free and penalty-free transfers. Explore your options with a free consultation. Call 888-689-9444. That's 888-689-9444. Protect your family and your investments. Call 888-689-9444 now.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. The anti-Semitic riots at Columbia and Yale should be a wake-up call for Americans. It's just more evidence that when it comes to our elite universities, the emperor has no clothes. Student radicals pitch tents and fits at elite academies that were once the envy of the world. They're the lucky few out of mountains of accomplished, well-rounded, hard-working applicants who would have welcomed the chance to learn rather than agitate. But the universities hand-selected these radicals. It's an important reminder that places like Columbia and Yale no longer deserve the deference they've long been accorded. And it's another reason to resist Joe Biden's efforts at loan forgiveness. The universities accepted these students and created hotbeds of anti-Semitic and anti-American hatred. Let a tax on their overstuffed endowments pay down the student debt and fix at least one of the problems they've created. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
If you're a business owner, everywhere you turn, someone is telling you about how you need to be using digital marketing. If you're around terms like SEO and geofencing, it all sounds overwhelming, right? Not to mention expensive. So what if you could get some advice about digital marketing with no strings attached? Well, good news. Our sales team members are experts at all things digital. If you ever have any questions, we'd love to help. Call us now at 501-404-6560. 501-404-6560. 101.1 The Answer is home to all the best shows. Catch The Charlie Kirk Show weekdays from 11 to 1. This is 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Opinions, insights, and common sense. That's what we're all about. Keeping you informed. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. 501-823-0965. The Dave Elswick Show. 101.1 FM. The Answer.
All right. In addition to our show at 10:05, Senator Mark Johnson's going to join us. And Jennifer, are you sticking around?
I'm going to try. I'm checking with my husband right now.
Okay. And Mark says that what we talked about last hour, there's some things in it that are factually incorrect, and he wants to come on and talk about it. So.
That's great.
You know, if Jennifer, if you want to stick around, you can.
I'm definitely going to try.
You're welcome to. All right, so let's finish up here with Lorri, because I only got the rest of this half hour for Lorri, because we've got Congressman French Hill coming on.
Okay, so I just want to say that I have an email right here that I wrote to President Loyd on August 3rd, which was long before the Hot Springs incident. And I'm just going to read a portion of it where I say, I realize that I'm new to the AFRW Executive Committee. However, it appears to me that rules are not being followed and applied equally across the board. I will not be a party to that. I expect all clubs to follow the same rules as written in the bylaws and refuse to allow some clubs to slide because they are a personal friend of mine or anyone else. I took an oath on Saturday to uphold the AFRW and NFRW rules equally across the board, and that is what I intend to do. That was from August, so immediately upon me taking office, there were problems, witnessed a lot of things, a lot of people being treated differently and clubs being treated differently, and I spoke up about that. And, you know, those of us who are elected, we followed the rules and bylaws. And a lot of people either clearly do not know the bylaws in the Republican women, or they don't care and they're afraid to speak out. And we saw that Saturday. One lady saying, well, but, you know, if my president is talking with NFRW and this is what they're telling them to do, then I'm going to vote for them, or whatever it was. I'm paraphrasing here. So you have people blindly following folks who don't know the rules or are not following them. And this has been happening since the beginning, since July 1st when I took over as treasurer. And I have gotten multiple emails that I wrote to her in text that say the same thing. I'm going to follow the law. I'm going to follow the bylaws. I'm going to follow the rules. I took an oath. I plan to keep that oath. And we all took that oath as officers.
Did Sharon Loyd take the same oath?
She absolutely did. We all stood up there and took it. Karen Maynard took it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, since then, I've been told, well, you're black and white. I've got an email where Sharon told someone at NFRW, I'm black and white. I am, because the rules are in black and white. They're pretty clear if you read that.
The oath is in black and white.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. And, you know,
can't kind of follow an oath. You either follow it or
right.
not.
And that's what I told them. You know, you either
pregnant.
Yeah.
Right. You follow the rules or you don't follow the rules. You either do or you don't. And then that's when I was told, well, but you know, this is a volunteer organization, and you know, my response to that was, well, if you don't have the time to follow the bylaws and learn them and read them, then maybe you're doing too much and you need to give your position to somebody who will do it correctly. That's my answer to that.
I'd just like to throw in there, too, a lot of these women that Lorri is talking about, they have been in this party for a long time. Mm-hmm. AFRW, that was one of their talking points when they were running for their positions, is they've been in it for like a couple decades, I think. So how is it over those decades that they didn't take time to learn the bylaws? I've only been involved a little over a year, and
they've never been challenged. They've never had to know them. They've never had to. They can do what they want, and everybody just goes, okay, well, that's how we've always done it. Okay, yeah, great.
I read these bylaws in 5 minutes.
Yeah, they're not difficult.
No, and it's not easy. It's not hard to comprehend. I comprehended them.
Right.
But let me ask you this before we get out of here. The bylaws and the rules in the AFRW supposedly guarantee due process, right? And I want to get Jen on this because this is what attorneys talk about is due process. Do y'all see any due process?
Absolutely not. And that's the whole purpose of Robert's rules too, is to ensure that everyone has an equal voice and is treated equally, even the minority in the group. But that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's just, and Jen, jump in there real quick as far as due process, because I know that irks you, doesn't it?
Due process. Lawyers like to joke that it's the process which is due. So basically what it means is that you want a process that everyone feels is transparent and fair and both parties are being heard. Of course, these individuals were not heard. And I will tell you, the situation from which this arose, I was at that meeting. I watched the whole thing. They did nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, I wish we could get some of the clips from that meeting so you could hear how professional and civil and calm Jackie and Abby were. They got up, they said, hey, I understand there's some tempers flaring, because they were at the time, but that was among Hot Springs Village Republican women, which I think this is an important point. The issue arose because some, quote, patriots within Hot Springs Village Republican Women went in and elected some new patriots. Sharon Loyd came in, not liking those new individuals, removed them unilaterally, did not seek approval from anybody, just did that and reinstated all those women who had resigned that she approved of. And so that is where this came from. And then instead of going after the individuals within that club, they went after Lorri, Abby, and Jacque, who aren't even members of that club.
And I want to very quickly say there is a video recording of that. There's a video recording, but the person who has it is holding it for a potential lawsuit, and so she is not releasing it. So that is why it's not been released.
Out of time. Ding, 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 ding. We'll be back here in just a moment with Congressman French Hill.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-444-2013. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-444-2013. That's 800-444-2013. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. 800-444-2013.
Does your knee pain keep getting worse? How about that pain in your shoulder or hip or back? Don't let them tell you that steroids and surgery are your only option. Take my advice now and call QC Kinetics. It's Dave Elswick. QC Kinetics can make that pain go away with all natural advanced regenerative medicine. They're helping people here every day with these amazing natural treatments that restore and repair damaged joint tissue. It's like turning back the clock. Regenerative medicine uses concentrated healing agents from your own body to stimulate that damaged tissue in your joints so they can work like they're supposed to, and there's zero downtime. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting medical breakthrough. Patients here are getting real lasting relief and are saying no to surgery and drugs. 501-222-8440. Call QC Kinetics now. 501-222-8440. That's 501-222-8440.
Ministry leaders, if you think that people of faith should be leading the way in solving society's issues, we invite you to join 101.1 The Answer and the Americans for Prosperity Foundation for the the Faith and Liberty Summit on May 3rd at Agape Church in Little Rock. This free event will provide the knowledge and the resources to help unify the faith community's role in civic life. Lunch will be provided, but space is limited. So register right now at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Use the promo code FAITH.
Here's NASCAR Hall of Famer Mark Martin. As a race car driver for 40 years, I survived a lot of crashes. Not everyone can run into a wall at 200 miles an hour and walk away. Without a seatbelt, I wouldn't be alive today. Now I'm retired, back home in Arkansas driving my pickup. I'm shocked how many people aren't wearing seatbelts. Why risk your life when it only takes 2 seconds to buckle up? Take it from number 6. Buckle up, Arkansas.
A message from the Arkansas State Police Highway Safety Office.
To stay up to date on the stories and events that everyone is talking about, all you need to do is keep listening. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Here's your forecast on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
We see increasing clouds through the day and temperatures that will continue to be warm. We'll see 77 degrees for the high temperature and the chance of a passing shower. The better chance for showers will be tonight. They'll be scattered, and the better chance for thunderstorms comes on Thursday. The weather over the next few days remains unsettled, with thunderstorm chances continuing through the weekend. Tonight's low will be 58, and highs on Thursday will be closer to 70. From the Channel 7 Weather Center, I'm James Bryan.
Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
All right, back with you. I was waiting for the opening start for the show. We're in the middle of the show, so we don't have the opening. We're going to touch base now with Congressman French Hill. He is doing some things, and we were able to slide him in here at 9:35. The big story I wanted to talk to him about was Malinowski from the airport, who was killed by ATF. We found out now that there's no body cam footage out there, Congressman. That puts off my spidey sense like crazy right now. You've been working with Congressman Jim Jordan about this as well. What's going down?
Hey, it's great to be with you, Dave. Thanks for letting me call in a little later today.
Yeah.
This is a terrible situation, and you've got two trends that came together here. Number one, the Biden administration has an unprecedented behind-the-scenes attack on every firearms dealer in the country.
Yes.
I have constituents here, as well as I hear from my colleagues around the country. They are doing everything they can to nitpick and turn over rocks to try to reduce the number of legal federal firearms dealers that hold that license. It's just, in my view, from what I've heard anecdotally, I'm saying anecdotally, it's routine that I'm hearing. So that's point one. Point two is this is ridiculous. Serving a search warrant on a guy who has a 9-to-5 job, who makes a couple $100,000 a year, who's a public official, who runs our airport. He had just been in my office the week before doing his job. He was up to see the congressional delegation about his goals, plans, and needs for Little Rock National Airport. So I find it shocking that that's their methodology of trying to find out information about Bryan and his hobby of buying and selling firearms to go into his house at 6 in the morning. And why I got Jim involved is I saw the ring phone video of this assault where here come all the cars, here come all these people in tactical assault gear. Here comes the guy up to the front door. It appeared to me he didn't have any kind of a body camera on, and he puts tape over the ring video so the video goes black. And then it was unclear to me on the proper procedure on announce before you go in the door.
I
found that very suspect.
Yeah, I'm going to be really honest with you, Congressman. This sounds like Stasi stuff instead of like ATF stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everything about it stinks. And that's why I talked to Jim Jordan, the chairman of our Judiciary Committee, to look into it. This is his oversight responsibility. That's his committee. Both on the issue of the firearms overreach generally, and then this case specifically on how ATF conducted this investigation. What were they up to? Why did they operate that way? And it was clear to me also And now it's been made public, and I've read in the newspaper, that they did not have on body cameras, which is a Joe Biden executive order requirement of all federal agents conducting this kind of an operation.
Yeah, Jimmy has a question for you.
Yeah, Congressman, as far as the cameras, this is what's disturbing me, and I talked to Dave about this on the elevator when we got here this morning, is that you had 10 vehicles pull up. I don't know how many agents involved, but a minimum of 10. Okay, and policy says you wear your body camera.
The president's policy,
right? And which is a good policy.
Yeah,
but everybody that was in that raid, either one didn't have their body camera on, or two didn't wear it. That is not 10 or 12 individuals forgetting to turn their body camera on or making an individual. That sounds like an order to me.
Yeah, does that feel that way to you too, Congressman?
It does, and that's exactly why I thought it deserved a formal inquiry to Jim and an investigation. It just doesn't sit right with me, and every American is on edge about this. And look, Democrats are too. You can think about all their no-knock warrant complaints during the Summer of Love, and Democrats went ballistic on that topic. Where are they now? Where are they now on being outraged by this potential abuse and failure to follow procedures by the ATF? I mean, not a lot of noise.
Let me ask.
That's why I think this is an equal opportunity question to get the answer.
So, how do we speed this up a little bit? I mean, it's already been a month. I mean, how do we speed this up so we get some truth out of this?
Well, first, I think you'll see the family wanting to get to the bottom of what happened to their loved one. Will pursue that with the legal investigation on their own here for the circumstances of Brian's death. And secondly, I think Jim Jordan gets answers when it comes to the Justice Department and ATF. So I've got every confidence that his investigators are treated very well by the Justice Department, and we'll get answers. So I can't think of a better way to go at private law. I think the family's represented by Bud Cummins. He's a former U.S. attorney in Little Rock. He understands the federal criminal investigation process quite well. So Bud's representing the family, and Jim Jordan's on the case in Washington. I think that's a good pair.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that something is coming of this, because I was getting a little bit irritated about back in the day when we watched television as teenagers, you watch Get Smart, and the cone of silence would come down. Seemed like the cone of silence had come down on this particular story.
Well, that may be the case, and that's why it takes somebody with a hammer to break the cone open, and that's what I think. Bud is certainly has an incentive to make sure he gets the facts out on behalf of the family in case there's some ability to benefit them. They'll never get their loved one back. I mean, Brian will never be back to run the airport or have his hobby or love his family, and that's Bud's responsibility. And Jim is on this case because of what I said. In addition to not following procedure and catching potentially the Justice Department in another failed approach to doing things in the right way, you've got this issue that I raised at the top, which is what's going on in their investigating process of people who have a federal firearms license.
Congressman, this is going to be a process because I think people think we're going to get a quick answer because the Arkansas State Police did their criminal investigation. They turned it over to Placer County Prosecutor Will Jones. What people have to understand is the ASP investigation was into a criminal investigation, not a policy investigation. So it's strictly going to be, was there a crime committed? And I think we already know what's going to be said on that. So talk about the process that Jim Jordan's going to have to do. It's not going to be quick, about how we're going to get answers of exactly what happened that day. And the critical question is, why were nobody's body cameras on?
Yeah, that's right. All those points are right, Jimmy. And so we've posted the letter the committee has written to ATF for the answers to these questions, and as I say, Jordan's investigators are tireless and don't put up a lot of nonsense on not getting answers. So Congressman Jordan is committed to keep me personally involved in every step of the way. We'll keep the federal congressional delegation absolutely in the loop. We have the full support of Senator Cotton and Senator Bozeman in the other chamber. And look, if ATF comes and testifies before Congress on another matter, if we're not getting the answers, we'll be happy to invite our fellow congressmen and senators to ask them a question when they're on that committee hearing why they have not responded to Congressman Jordan about the matters of Little Rock.
I gotcha. Let me move on to one other topic before we go. All of these demonstrations that we're seeing on college campuses that are pro-Palestinian, they're not just Ivy League schools. I mean, University of Michigan, Arizona State, all kinds of universities now are seeing this happen. We're seeing the same tents pop up at all these different events and things of that nature. Is the Congress interested in finding out where the money's flowing through for these organizations?
You bet. And Lisa Stefanik from New York, our conference chairwoman, who is the one who did such a marvelous job in getting change at Harvard that you may have read about several months ago. She is on this case along with the Education and Workforce Chair, Virginia Fox of North Carolina. They have been on this because of the anti-Semitism that we've already witnessed and already seen in actual testimony. So I have every confidence that they will get to the bottom of what's going on here. But look, the left never misses an opportunity to miseducate people, misinform people. And this is a case, Dave, I hate to say this, but this is a 30-year problem where we've allowed people to be culturally informed in this kind of sick manner. I mean, when you have kids screaming, "We are Hamas," I mean, this is just outrageous. I mean, it's just outrageous.
And I agree. I only had one other question. I'm going to let Jimmy ask the last one, and that is, can I start referring to Merrick Garland as Janet Reno? Would that be all right with you?
It's fine with me. They sort of look alike, too.
Okay. Congressman, talking about the universities, the on campus with the pro-Hamas, anti-Israel deal, we had the discussion earlier this morning about TikTok. And I can't help but believe that TikTok is influencing quite a bit of this behavior. What's your take on that?
I don't have any doubt that social media organization, both propaganda, in other words, literal propaganda, hidden from who the real perpetrator is, plays a role. And then I think just, as I say, cultural ignorance. True ignorance builds on more ignorance on social media, as we certainly all know. I saw a TikTok video somebody sent me the other day as a joke, some teenage girl saying, "Why do we have this inflation? Why don't we just print more money?" And she explains how that would solve the problem. What an idiot. I mean, so I'm with you, Jimmy. I think that's why we're going to get to the bottom of who's promoting this trash, who's running it, who's putting up the money, who's putting up the websites. Where is this money coming from? Is it any outside the U.S.? Is this literally terror organizations doing it? Is it in people here in the United States? So you just, that's just what we have to figure out. But I have every confidence the committee will be on this task.
All right, we've got 6 minutes left. I can ask one more question. The students that are holding these demonstrations on college campuses, if they're here under the goodwill of the United States government, we let them come to the United States to study at our universities. Should they be told to go back home?
That is actually part of what Elise and Virginia Fox are doing, which is revoking student visas for people who incite violence or break laws. I don't think we would probably send them home for a free speech violation. Obviously, that wouldn't be very in keeping with American tradition. But to the extent that they're performing any kind of activity that's against the rules of the university or against the law of the town in which the university is located, or if they conduct any personal violent behavior, I know that's exactly the direction that Elise and Virginia are pursuing.
All right. I got you out early.
Great to be with you.
Don't blame on me.
You all have a great one.
All right. Talk to you later. Congressman Hill here on the Dave Elswick Show. Quick break. Then we'll come back, finish it up for the 9 o'clock hour. And I thought the 10 o'clock hour was going to be, no big deal. That's changed.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good
We're going to have State Senator Mark Johnson on. And Jennifer, you sticking around?
I'm sticking around.
Okay, she's sticking around. He says that during the 8 o'clock hour, some of the things that we were saying was factually incorrect. And this is the key with the Dave Elswick Show. I'll have both sides on. I'm all about that.
I think that's great that Senator Johnson's going to
I agree.
Let's have the discussion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget about Pat Davis, your health plan man, and healthplanman.com. You got to keep in mind what he's really trying to do for small business owners with 3 or more employees. Your premiums, he'll tell you, are unfairly much higher than larger group plans. You need to see your healthplanman.com group plans that are out there. They are often 40 to 70% lower premium savings just in premiums alone. That's not counting, co-pays and all the rest of the stuff that they throw on top. As low as $1,000 out of pocket for a major event like a heart attack, a surgery, a stroke. Free in-depth annual wellness checkup for every member. Use any provider you want to use. 24/7 worldwide coverage. If you own a business with 3 or more employees, you need to call or text Pat right now at 501-605-6935. Start saving money today. 501-605-6935. The group plan they recommend is also veteran-owned. Call or text your healthplanman.com now, 501-605-6935. And don't forget, they offer plans for individuals, couples, and families. So you need to call or text now, 501-605-6935. And last but not least, Pat Davis and his crew, well, they're just going to treat you better. That's Pat Davis, your healthplanman.com.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax.
We started our company 10 years ago in an effort to help our fellow Christians experiencing tax issues resolve their matters by taking a simple 3-step approach.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys that specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results. We're also a small firm who will treat you like family, not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
Proverbs 15:22 says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed." Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
This is Dennis Prager. Now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from Big Tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
Ministry leaders, if you think that people of faith should be leading the way in solving society's issues, we invite you to join 101.1 The Answer and the Americans for Prosperity Foundation for the Faith and Liberty Summit on May 3rd at Agape Church in Little Rock. This free event will provide the knowledge and the resources to help unify the faith community's role in civic life. Lunch will be provided, but space is limited. So register right now at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Use the promo code FAITH.
The Bumper to Bumper Car Show is Saturday, May 4th at the Conway Expo Center in Conway. It's a $20 donation to register your car, and 100% of the proceeds benefit the Ronald McDonald House Charities. There will be tons of door prizes to win, and we'll also be there with a special edition of the Car and Truck Doctors Show, starting at 7 on 101.1 The Answer. Don't miss this year's car show, sponsored by Bumper to Bumper Auto Parts. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1 The Answer. We have truth on our side. Truth, common sense, and the belief in what's right and who's telling the lies. That's why we exist. 101.1 FM, The Answer. This is the Dave Elswick Show. 101.1 FM, The Answer.
Back with you, Dave Elswick Show. We've got about 4 minutes here before we get a break.
We were talking about...
No, I don't bring you on the show to ask anything.
Well, especially while we got Jen here. She's an attorney, and we talk about free speech. And when the Congressman was saying that these people that we have come over from other countries, and they're disrupting the university...
On a student visa.
Yes. And he had mentioned that they had free speech, and so we probably didn't want to limit that. So since we got Jen here, the attorney and everything, if I hit one of them in the mouth, is that free speech?
You know the answer to that.
The answer is no.
You're not going to defend me on that one?
I love you, Jimmy, but come on now.
Yeah.
But I think
they can be sent back home if they're saying death to America.
What do you say, Jen?
Well, I think what we should bring up is that issue that came up just a few weeks ago on the U of A campus, where I believe a cop cut down a Trump flag.
Yes.
Okay, because same thing applies here. Now, because
seems
it
like
is a university campus...
Was that at a baseball game?
I think so.
That was at a U of A home game.
Now, let me be really clear. I did not look into that issue. I do not know all of the facts, okay, but I just think there are some similarities here, and I think it's relevant to bring up because the university does actually, they can limit, quote, speech on their campus. And they clearly did it when they took down that Trump flag.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I disagree with them taking down the Trump flag, but I do think, again, based on my very limited knowledge,
well,
I reserve the right to change my mind, that they had the authority to do that. And similarly, if you have individuals on a college campus chanting death comments, they have the authority to remove them. But we're in such a weak society that
will they?
Right, that they don't. But I believe they have the authority.
Bringing up this discussion is really good because we only got a few minutes, but it depends on the form, right, on what you can limit and what you can't, whether it's an open public forum, a limited forum. But then it gets into, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, but then it gets into your content and your freedom of viewpoint and content, right?
If your speech can be construed as attacking someone or threatening someone, which I think
threaten violence.
I think death to America is threatening violence, as well as,
but in what,
from the river to the sea is threatening violence, as far as
But it comes down to the form you're in too. Am I right or wrong?
Well, yes, but I believe, again, I don't have the law in front of me and I haven't researched this recently, but you cannot have political messages on state property. So both of those are. You have a Trump flag, and then you chant, what was it, Death to America? Is that what you're talking about? Okay, those are political messages.
Right.
So both of them, yes, the administration can certainly limit that speech on that campus. Now, if you want to go to a bigger picture, yes, there are limits on free speech. We all, when people don't want to act, I think that's when they will often say, oh, well, there's free speech. I'm sorry, let me be more clear with that statement. When the left or when you have individuals who don't want to make waves or make people mad, sometimes they will just default to, well, there's free speech. But there are limits on free speech, and we all know this. And I think the most classic example is you can't yell fire in a crowded building. Right?
And I can't hit this guy in the mouth.
Right.
Okay.
No matter how much you might deserve it.
Well, the biggest part is that's an action, and that's a speech. Although
burning
an American flag is considered political speech.
But be clear, speech speech is considered action too, right? In a lot of situations, like yelling fire in the theater, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's we need to do a show where we explain, where we really delve into free speech and where you can and when you can and what you can do.
That would be fun.
Like school board meetings, city council meetings, stuff like that.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Let's do this. Take a break.
Yeah.
Take a break. And
Mark Johnson.
Senator Mark Johnson will be with us on the other side of the news. That's coming up here on the Dave Elswick Show.
This has been the Dave Elswick Show. Find him on Twitter and on Facebook at Dave Elswick Show.
Dave Elswick Show. Find us at 1011FM, theanswer.com. Download our apps. Stream us 24/7. KDXE, Little Rock, Chemic Village.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There is a tremendous price war in the term life industry. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45, non-smoker, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month, level rate for 10 years. Or a man age 50, non-smoker, can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of $110, level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 800-275-8525. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 800-275-8525. Remember, 800-275-8525. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker underwriting exam required to qualify. That number for Term Busters is 800-275-8525. 800-275-8525.
An Arkansas talk legend, Dave Elswick, on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. Where's the Tylenol? Where's the Tylenol?
All right, you can't get anything past this guy. State Senator Mark Johnson heard, what we have here is a failure to communicate, and then he heard,
is that Foghorn Leghorn?
No, that's from Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand Luke. I remember the line in the movie.
That was Keith Coven.
But your voice was.
Yeah, and then the other part was, of course, where's the Tylenol?
He heard me and Jennifer talking during that segment. And next thing we know, he's knocking on the door in the studio.
Well,
we're glad you're here.
Hey, I hold my friends to a higher standard than I do.
There we go. Let me talk about what we're talking about here. Okay. All right. At 8:00, we had Jennifer Lancaster come on, and that, of course, Jimmy invited her in. She wants to come in. I've told her this. You just show up, and I got a microphone open to her to come in and talk. And no, somebody said, "Are you in love with Jennifer?" No, I'm not in love with Jennifer. I'm in love with my wife. But I do respect Jennifer Lancaster and Clint.
In respect to Clint, we're all in love with Jennifer.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say it. I'll admit it.
So anyway, bottom line.
I'm so glad you don't need my camera on, but
we were talking about the lectern. We're talking about my big question came out of that whole audit thing was when it was said that when the governor made the statement, we're a constitutional office and not a state agency, so we're not under the auspices of a state agency, and that concerned me when I read it, and I said, that's got to be cleared up. Well, David Ferguson wrote an article for Conduit today who said the exact same thing I did. You can't just leave that hanging out there like somebody's, underwear that went pink because you washed them with a red shirt or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I got a text from the senator saying they're factually incorrect on what they're saying. So, when you say that, I got to get you on, all right? And better.
I'm glad I was loose, Dave.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times on a morning we're in session, I can't get loose.
Yeah. So the bottom line was this: this show that I do, I bring anybody on that is reputable to talk about this stuff.
Thank you for the compliment.
And you're reputable. You're one of the few politicians I really do trust. I really do. You've been a very good friend to this show, and if you want a walking encyclopedia about Arkansas political history, this is the man.
That's a true statement there.
It's because I'm old.
Well, so am I.
Well, we're of a generation, Jeff. I think we're about the same age.
So go ahead and tell us.
Let me do a little background. First of all, you mentioned David Ferguson. A lot of people have read David's treatises and Conduit publishes and all that. But background you need to know. David Ferguson is an attorney who was for many, many years with the Bureau of Legislative Research.
Yes, he was.
And was the director for several years. He is one of the people before I was a senator, he was not only my friend, but he was one of my go-to people in state government. Now, of course, he didn't work for me like now I'm a senator, the Bureau does work for me. But David is a tremendous mind. He understands and knows the Constitution, he knows state government. And I couldn't agree with what you just told me. He said more. I haven't read the article yet, but knowing him, he's going to keep it based on fact. And here's the simple thing. If it's unclear, this is why we have a session every 2 years, is to clear things up. And I'll use a good example of, I want to do this in a more linear fashion, so pardon me if I'm bouncing around from issue to issue. But basically, here's what we're looking at. And I brought the AG's opinion, and it was asking about certain things related to our General Accounting and Budgetary Procedures Law. Now, let me go back to the beginning on this. I mean, we all know about the controversial podium, and but where audit got into this, and this is my biggest problem of this whole process, is that one senator, Jimmy Hickey, moved that we refer this matter to audit. Now, I'm a member of the Legislative Joint Auditing Committee, so this comes under my purview, officially, not just as a member of the legislature. I chair the committee that reviews all the audits of counties and municipalities. And believe me, if you want to see something more entertaining than Judge Judy, come down sometime and watch my committee when we're bringing in these mayors and county judges. And generally, you would be shocked the kind of violations they have. But generally, they are just plain procedural mistakes. One of the ones we've had a lot of problems with is that the Highway Department has turned back funds, a certain percentage of some of their accounts go to cities and counties. It's generally 70% goes to RDOT, 15% to cities, 15% to counties on a formula that's too complicated to even go into here. But we had some of these little bitty towns, they'll get their check for their road fund. It's supposed to go in their street department account. And they put it in their general fund and spend it on something else. Well, our auditors come in, and they find that, and they hold, it's an audit finding. They have to come to Little Rock and sit in front of us. And it's happened so many times I can almost do a routine of, we're sorry, Mr. Chairman, we just made a mistake. And our little old city, and not even clerks, they're recorder treasurers, these are cities of the second class or incorporated towns. They're little bitty, 150, 250 people, something like that. She put it in the wrong account, and we're sorry, and we're paying it back. How much are you paying back, Mayor? Well, we're paying back $25 a month. Okay, well, and so I'm sitting there. Before I was chairman, anytime they'd come up, I'd pull out my calculator, do it, and I'd hand it to show it over to the chairman because I was vice chair. It'd take them 235 years to pay it back or something like that. So this is what we deal with. These are, and the second thing that happens is, we get audit findings in some cases that, by law, we're required to refer them to the prosecuting attorney. It's by law. It's not. We have options in some cases on that, but in this case, we must refer it to the prosecuting attorney. And this year or last year, we changed it to also concurrently refer it to the Attorney General's office. And I will be honest with y'all, the reason I wanted to do that was because you get cases where, Jennifer, you know about this, you get a referral to a local prosecutor, and the person that made the mistake was the mayor's daughter or something like that, and for political reasons the prosecutor decides not to do anything. And that's why we need to also have it concurrently looked at by the AG's office. Now,
hey, Mark, can I jump in there just for a second?
Course, sure,
the division you're talking about is the Public Integrity Division at the AG's office, correct?
We didn't spell out where the general puts it, but that's probably where his. Now, you got to remember things. This is not necessarily criminal. It can be criminal,
right,
which is why it's referred. The Legislative Joint Auditing Committee and the Legislative Auditor and staff. By the way, we honored Roger Norman yesterday. 47 years of service in the state of Arkansas. He's retiring the end of June as our legislative auditor. A super gentleman, a man of integrity, but totally dedicated to the state and doing the right thing. So we honored him on the Senate floor. I think the House did too yesterday. But audit is a finder of fact. They find facts, and they refer them to prosecutors to determine if the law was broken, or if the rules were broken, or if there was some other, it mentions in this thing, you'll hear a lot about General Accounting and Budgetary Procedures Law. And that's sort of, in private sector, you have GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Procedures. This is the state government equivalent of GAAP. So you can not follow that, but you didn't break the law, you just didn't follow the procedures. So that's what came up. But but audit often finds things that they're required to lay everything out. Their mode of operation is any little thing we find, we're going to report it, and some of it is clearly is a violation of law. And sometimes they find felonies, and we hope they get prosecuted, but we can't control that all the time, or any of the time really. We're the legislative branch, but they refer it to the local prosecutors to make that determination. And part of the logic is that this fact seems insignificant to us, but in the context of a larger investigation that a prosecutor may be doing, that could have some significance. So our staff, they put that together. They don't prejudge it. They just gather it all up and send it off. Well, here's what you get politically and people looking at things. I went online. I was Googling something, and I had a website, a YouTube page that came up from this really out there leftist, and he was excoriating our governor over this little scandal. And but the facts he used were, and the prosecutors are looking at it, and this is, I thought, well, my Lord, they look at everything. We send them a lot of stuff, and knowing full well there's probably nothing there, but this is being open, providing the information to them. And again, there could be something going on external to that specific audit or issue that they need to know. They may have a case against some crook over here in this, and us providing that information should, that crook showed up over here too. And it's like watching Wheel of Fortune. As letters are turned, you start to see the picture. So that's how the process works. Now, where I had a factual difference with my friends here is, and I won't remember, Jennifer, if you or Jimmy said, but you talked in effect basically saying, well, the governor wants to pick and choose, that she wants to use M&R on this, but she didn't want to use it on that. Well, M&R is not required of the constitutional offices, and when I say that, I mean all 7, nor the constitutionally independent agencies. Now, I know a lot about M&R because I've been oversight of them. I've done business with them. I bought a lawnmower from them one time. I mean, let me do a commercial for them. Folks, if you're looking for surplus property, that's the marketing and marketing and redistribution. Cities and counties and state agencies can go there and buy something that was surplus to some other agency. They get a small fee. I think it's 10% of whatever they get for it, and that money they operate on that. That's a special revenue agency. So we don't give them a general revenue appropriation. They operate on that. But mayors and county judges say, well, we need a computer to do this. Now, we don't want to go buy a brand new one. We just need it for this little simple function. So they can go buy there for $100 or $200 and get a good computer that will do their job, and it saves the taxpayers at the local level some money. So it's a good program. It's been there for a long, long time. But the statute that I pulled out, and I wanted to, and remember, anything I say that criticizes our staff that did the audit is only perception. They were trying to be thorough.
Correct.
And I thought they did a great job.
Well, but they missed a couple of things, and one of the things they missed.
Okay, before we say what they are, let's take a break.
Take a break.
I got to get a break in.
All right.
I want you to stick with us.
Okay.
I want you to hear what the state senator has to say. I'm acting like a drug dealer now. I'm letting you have a little taste. We're going to get to it when we come back on the Dave Elswick Show.
Oh, such a clutch pickup, Dave.
I know, right? I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
Oh, no, I meant those blackout motorized shades. MVP of the room.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. Even you could do it.
Nice.
I installed these and then got some for my mom, too.
You fly across the country to do the install?
Nope. Blinds.com can do it all. All she had to do was pick what she wanted. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Look at you, Hall of Fame son.
Oh, I just picked the winning team. They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Oh, Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT.
He shoots. He scores.
Go to Blinds.com for up to 40% off and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Go right now for up to 40% off at Blinds.com. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hey, it's Dave Elswick and Colonel Conrad Reynolds, who you know from being on my show many, many times, talking about international issues from his perspective of having the background in military intelligence, is now going to be right here, 101.1 FM, every Monday night at 6 p.m. with the Colonel of Truth. He'll be dissecting national issues from a national security perspective. Don't miss him, Monday nights, 6 p.m. on Monday nights with Colonel Conrad Reynolds.
There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer. So, thinking about climbing Pikes Peak? Yeah, well, you can get this radio station there, too. TuneIn.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. We're always on 101.1, The Answer.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that is MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for health care can save many families up to $500 a month, and that is huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. So see what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick. 101.1 FM. The Answer.
All right, back with you here on the Dave Elswick Show. So, what do you feel was factually incorrect that was?
And I think, Dave, I think that the Attorney General's opinion clearly makes it clear. Let me read this thing in Arkansas Code Annotated subsection 25.106. It says that. I had it here a second ago. I don't want to. All state agencies, boards, commissions, departments, colleges, universities are required, and county, municipal, other tax-supported institutions are authorized to utilize the services of M&R. Now, you've got to remember, this is a service to government agencies, both to buy and sell. The governor's office and I mean, y'all brought out the fact that in the audit they pointed out things that the governor's office had used to redistribute or dispose of. But they're not required to. And I can tell you something I learned a few years ago. I asked the director of M&R, well, and again, it was about a lawnmower. So I'm looking for good riding lawnmower, heavy-duty riding lawnmower. And I said, well, don't y'all get the ones from RDOT? He says, no, they got mad at us a few years ago, and they decided they didn't want to use us anymore. They were just going to have their own auctions, which is allowable. They're a constitutional agency. They're spelled out in Amendment 42 of the Arkansas Constitution. That's the Mac Blackville Amendment. Game and Fish the same way. And, of course, as we all know recently, Amendment 33 is a little more gray, but it has to do with higher education, corrections, and charitable. I had to ask someone what charitable institutions meant, and they said, well, that's like the blind school, the deaf school, and, you know, the Confederate Veterans Home, which I guess doesn't apply anymore, although technically it's a lot of stuff is still in the code about that. But, you know, this is something that the AG brought out, and this is why this is a hot button for me. I mean, I was defending the governor. No, I'm defending the Constitution. I agree with the governor on this one, and I can. But the point is, we don't have, and I said this in here, we don't have. You know, we all went through 9th grade civics. There's 3 branches of government, and someone once said, well, actually, there's 6. There's executive, legislative, judicial, and then there's highway, game and fish, and lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can add gambling and marijuana. But the point is that over the years we have eroded the separation of powers doctrine. One of the things that really bothered me with the conclusion that the auditors reached, and again, these are people that indirectly, as one of the members of the committee, they're my staff, and I love them and respect them. They're probably, I hate to say anybody's the best people in state government, but they're right up there at the top. They're great people. But, you know, they have their auditors, their accountants, almost all of them are CPAs. They have blinders on. Some of them are a lot of them are CPAs and lawyers. They have blinders on, and as I said before, they're finders of fact. And others, often prosecuting attorneys, are the ones that decide, is this an offense, a criminal offense, or does it rise to the level of prosecution? But they look at these things a lot of times with blinders on. Now, to say the governor is exempt from the procurement laws, meaning buying stuff, but they're not exempt from M&R, disposing of stuff. Well, this is, I think, maybe, and again, without reading it, I'm not sure, but this might have been what David Ferguson was saying, in essence, that, you know, we need to clear this up. And I certainly am going to be looking at that. I'm grateful I've got 6 or 8 months before we have to do that, but the law should be clear to everybody. You don't have to have a long history of dealing with this like I do, or be an attorney, or you know, and I know you're not an attorney, Jimmy, but you're what I call. What was the term?
I don't know what you call
learned in the law. See, he could be attorney general maybe because he's learned in the law.
He stayed at a Holiday Inn.
That's right. Well, and a lot of people don't know the Constitution doesn't say you have to be a lawyer to be attorney general. It says you have to be learned in the law. We had a guy that ran several years ago, and his logo was not an attorney but learned in the law, and he didn't win, obviously. But my point being that we do need to clean this up, but we have the independence of the governor and the General Assembly is constantly being attacked. And there are 2 things that get my goat. That's one. And the other is weaponization of agencies for political reasons. Now, Dave, you probably saw I've been involved in calling for some serious answers from ATF over the Bryan Malinowski issue.
And we just talked about that with Congressman Hill.
Well, and I want to thank French. I want to thank both our senators because they're the ones that got ATF to tell us that they didn't. They violated their own rules and didn't wear body cams.
Yeah.
Now, that's not an insignificant rule violation.
No,
I'll
that's
ask you,
huge.
Counselor, about one thing.
Yeah.
We have a thing called qualified immunity for law enforcement, which I absolutely support because I support law enforcement. They need to be given the benefit of the doubt. But if they have a rule and they just blow it off, then perhaps that qualification for immunity, the qualification is taken away. They shouldn't have the immunity, which is something we're going to be looking at. And I know we're not here to talk about that case, but I only say that to show, to me, this is the Biden administration weaponized ATF to try to, in their words, close the gun show loophole, which basically says ordinary citizens can't buy and sell guns.
All right, we got to take a break. I want to come back to what we're talking about, dealing with the governor. when we return with Senator Mark Johnson here on the Dave Elswick Show.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds and conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SMC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at smc.tv/Zumo.
Oil investments involve a high degree of risk and actual results may vary. Oil and natural gas keep going up as the Russia conflict escalates. Get in on the next major oil boom now and help the U.S. with your patriotic investment that can potentially pay you monthly income for up to 20 or more years. That's the sound of a producing oil well and the sound of a smart investment. If you're an SEC-accredited investor and have at least $25,000 liquid now, you can take advantage of Encore Energy's projects and a huge tax savings for this year. If you invest in oil and natural gas, you're allowed to write off nearly 100% of your investment in the first year. Goldman Sachs is projecting oil to go up to $100 a barrel, and natural gas is the fuel of the future and trading at record prices. Call 800-287-6691. Encore Energy is a major investor and experienced operator in its core area of operations. Call now and learn how to deduct 100% of your investment and create 20 or more years of potential monthly income. Call 800-287-6691. That's 800-287-6691.
Ministry leaders, if you think that people of faith should be leading the way in solving society's issues, we invite you to join 101.1 The Answer and the Americans for Prosperity Foundation for the Faith and Liberty Summit on May 3rd at Agape Church in Little Rock. This free event will provide the knowledge and the resources to help unify the faith community's role in civic life. Lunch will be provided, but space is limited. So register right now at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Use the promo code FAITH.
And paid for by AG Marketing Group. Attention timeshare owners. If you need to get rid of your timeshare for any reason, please listen to the following message. Getting out of a timeshare commitment is not easy, and it takes time. But we specialize in helping consumers legally get rid of their expensive timeshares forever. Can't get the vacation dates that work for you? Maybe you felt taken advantage of or forced into the timeshare? Maybe you just can't continue to shoulder those monthly payments any longer. If you need to eliminate your timeshare commitment, then you need to take down this number, 800-796-9107. We will safely and legally get rid of your timeshare payments forever, all with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't continue to let your timeshare be a financial burden to you and your loved ones. Call us now at 800-796-9107. The call is free. The consultation is free. Call 800-796-9107. That's 800-796-9107. Again, 800-796-9107. If you can snap your fingers, you can find this radio station. So the next time you want to listen to us, your smartphone is now your smart radio. We're always on 101.1. The Answer. Here's your forecast on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
We see increasing clouds through the day and temperatures that will continue to be warm. We'll see 77 degrees for the high temperature and the chance of a passing shower. The better chance for showers will be tonight. They'll be scattered, and the better chance for thunderstorms comes on Thursday. The weather over the next few days remains unsettled, with thunderstorm chances continuing through the weekend. Tonight's low will be 58, and highs on Thursday will be closer to 70. From the Channel 7 Weather Center, I'm James Bryan.
501-823-0965. The Dave Elswick Show. 101.1 FM. The Answer.
All right, we got 25 minutes left. Let me ask you to get right to it here, Senator Johnson. What did you have problems with what was said here on the air about this?
Well, one of the things, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, I think you said, but it was sort of that the governor can't have it both ways. She can't use M&R to sell I said
it.
Did you say that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I apologize, Jennifer. But the fact is, she absolutely can. The governor, whoever it is, absolutely can. And I don't care if it's Mike Beebe or Asa Hutchinson. If they choose in this case, we're going to send it to M&R, and in this case, we're not. Now, this was a different kind of situation because it was, I understand that the original discussion was that, this is going to be a reimbursable thing, the RPA can do from the, I guess that's from the inaugural fund. It's something that supports the governor's activities. That's been used for years. Asa used it to fly to Paris for the Paris Air Show and take his staff with him and all that. And hey, look at the expansion of Dassault Falcon Jet here in Little Rock. I'm not going to criticize things that show tangible results, but the point is that's private money that's sometimes used by the governor too.
Okay, let me read you what the Arkansas Legislative Audit said, and then I want to get Jen in here to give her perception of the law. Okay, ALA maintains the podium and road case are state property pursuant to Arkansas Attorney General Opinion 91-416. As such, the podium and road case should have been disposed of pursuant to mandates of Arkansas Code 25106, which you're referring to, Senator Johnson. They go on to say the governor's office did not request an exemption from the state procurement director for disposal of state property or request credit for state property from DFA in potential non-compliance with Arkansas Code 19-4-5103 and 25-0106. Instead, the governor's office directly sought full payment for the podium in case of the RPA. Now, they're maintaining that the governor, that 19-4, 1503, and 2506 apply to the governor. Jen, you talked about that earlier.
That's our point of disagreement. Go ahead, Jen.
Well, I mean, I can't
make your case.
what I said earlier.
Make your case.
Hey, and I got my law degree at a Holiday Inn Express too. So
you're learned in the law, right?
Maybe I am. I'm just old.
We're going to say we are.
I've been around.
So going back to 25. To this section 25.8106. Of course, I always go back when we're interpreting statutes. We go back to the title. We look at the history and the context. It is called Title 25 is state government. And then if you go further down, 25.1403, this is under general provisions. It specifically says that a state agency includes without limitation the offices of the governor. So that is under general provisions, that very first section, and as we know, general provisions applies to the entirety of that title. So I think also, furthermore, my other point was just that you guys, the legislature, you control the purse strings, oh my goodness, purse string.
I do it all the time.
Thank you.
You're forgiven.
Thank you.
We try to, anyway. We are in fiscal session, right?
Yes, and so you have jurisdiction, so to speak, over those issues. And so in an attempt to provide unity and uniformity for budget preparation, which you put that as your intent for state accounting and budgetary procedures, you state that right up front and center in 19.4.102. It is to provide, it is the policy of this state to provide uniformity in budget preparation, presentation, and execution for all fiscal transactions. I'm not saying this.
All is the key word there, though, right?
Right, and I'm reading it, and also it goes down further and says that for these purposes, the general provisions of this chapter are intended to establish uniformity in operating and capital budget preparation. I'm going to skip a few sentences for time, of the executive and legislative branches. So the point, I guess my position is just that it would result in absurdity if there was not uniformity in the accounting procedures. And to say that she exempt from this when the legislature specifically stated that the governor is in fact subject to this throughout these relevant code sections, I think, number one, it violates the plain meaning of the language, and also it would result in absurdity if we did not apply it as it has been applied for decades. And as I said, even if you look at DFNA, who you all charged with for determining these accounting procedures, the office of the governor subjected herself to that document and those accounting procedures up until it didn't benefit her anymore. That's my position.
Well, that's really where I disagree, and the Attorney General's opinion, I think, supports where I'm saying it. And he specifically, when I say he, I mean the Attorney General, although this was prepared by and Ryan Owsley, who I have the highest respect for. But and Ryan used to be with Bureau of Legislative Research, and I worked with him on that.
Okay.
But and let me read these two paragraphs. If the governor were required to use M&R, the statute would likely violate the separation of powers. And he cites a case fact that says any doubt as to the constitutionality of the statute must be resolved in favor of its constitutionality. If possible, we will construe a statute so that it's constitutional. It says under 25.8106, Office of State Procurement as Director control M&R. Thus, if the governor were required to use M&R, he or she would have been made subordinate to another executive branch official. And let's point out, one that she appoints. In this case, the Chief Fiscal Officer, that's the Secretary of DFNA. So she's the head of the executive branch, not Jim Hudson, not the director of M&R. And that's where I said these are separation of powers issues. The Arkansas Constitution, however, places the supreme executive power in the governor, not the state procurement director, an appointee of an appointee. This would likely violate separation of powers. And now in this next paragraph he says, although two sentences in a 23-page Attorney General opinion from 1992 indicate that constitutional officers must use M&R, that statement was not supported by any reasoning. Instead of analyzing the law, the opinion merely cites two statutes, 19.4.1503 and 25.8.106, neither of which are applicable. As explained above, 25.8.106 does not apply to constitutional officers as a matter of text, and if it did, there would be serious constitutional issues with it. 19.4.1503 of the General Accounting and Budgetary, I always have trouble with GABPL, G-A-B-P-L, I always have trouble. GABPL does not require constitutional officers to use M&R either. In fact, it doesn't require any state agency to use, next page, M&R. Instead, it is directed only at the Secretary of the Department of Finance Administration as the state's fiscal officer. In sum, constitutional officers are not required to use M&R under 25.8.106 or 19.4.1503. The text is clear and is confirmed by the potential that the law would be unconstitutional if applied to constitutional officers. Now that's where it comes down to. Now, as I said earlier, I don't care if it's Asa Hutchinson, Mike Beebe, or Sarah Sanders. they're the governor. They're the head of the executive branch. They can't appoint someone who then has to sit in judgment of what they're doing. They're the boss. And I agree with David Ferguson. This needs to be clarified in statute, and I'm confident if somebody else doesn't do it, I'll do it next year. I'm gonna knock on wood. Assuming I can get reelected, I'll try to be there and do that next year. But again, this is my whole point I was making about weaponizing audit.
Before we go that direction, let's finish this if that's okay. Let me jump in there because I want Jen to jump in there on the log. And what he says in the opinion, and he does it twice, that I find interesting. He doesn't say it does. He said would likely. Well, that's not a clarification.
Well, would likely is a hedge because just like us, the Attorney General is only opining about what a court might do.
Right.
But he's doing it with some constitutional clarity that I happen to agree with, and y'all are certainly welcome to do.
I want to go back to, because where I'm going with this, I'm sitting here listening to what he said would likely, but I'm also listening to Jen, what she is stating says in the code. So come back to that, Jen.
Well, you know I really like you, Senator Johnson.
We have a mutual admiration society, my dear.
But I want to point out that I was reading directly from the law, and yes, you were reading from his opinion. And it is just that. It is his opinion, as you stated, and it is not the law. So I would just go back to my original statement that if we're going to look at the legislative intent, which is what attorneys and the judges and the court will do when they are analyzing this particular situation, they look at legislative intent when the language is not itself clear. But as I've pointed out, the language is very clear in that the governor is subject to this. But I do want to say, I do really appreciate that you've brought up the separation of powers argument. To me, that is the best argument. I hate to give anybody ideas here, but I do think that's the best argument that has been made, and it's something I have thought about. Now, I'm going to dive into this just for a second, just because as I mentioned, the legislature has the control of the finances, and it is the legislature's responsibility, jurisdiction, to put parameters and guidelines in place that will allow for uniformity and transparency. And that is why I believe my position is correct. But I do want to give you credit for the separation of powers issue, because I talk about it a lot in Constitution Camp. We talk about Montesquieu and the need for separation of powers and checks and balances, and that's what you're talking about. But again, I disagree overall with the argument, because it is the legislature's responsibility to control that, and you all have done so through the law and by explicitly talking about what the intent is, and by specifically stating that the governor is subject to those provisions.
Well, Jennifer, I appreciate how you said that, and when I have a learned attorney that says I at least am getting part of it right, I appreciate it. But one thing that really bothered me in the audit, they said, in essence, and again, these are my folks, these are our staff, they said that it applies to the governor. Governor has to use M&R, but they didn't have to use state procurement. Well, until recently with transformation, that's the same office. M&R was under the Office of Procurement. I'm thinking, well, I mean, let's go a layer above all this statutory language that was written over a period of years and when you've been in the legislature, you realize just really how limited and your scope of being able to sort all this stuff out is. The right hand didn't know what the left hand was saying in that case, and so or it should have been done where it was both or neither. It was not, well, you can buy any way you want to, but you have to sell through this. Well, when they said that this thing was now was still property of the state and not the Republican Party, that's when I thought, well, wait a minute, now that's a stretch. I'm very defensive, and it's not just in this instance, there's two things that I want to come on and point out. One is the separation of powers argument. The governor's the head of the executive branch. DF&A staff, they work for her. And the second thing is that I'm sick and tired of someone, in this case Jimmy Hickey, in one case Joe Biden, and another, taking an agency and weaponizing it against something or somebody.
You're talking about the audit, the legislative audit, weaponizing them?
Weaponizing them. And I voted for the inquiry. I regret it. But, we're all trying to be open.
Welcomed it. The governor welcomed it.
Just because something is, and you know me, Jimmy, I'm for transparency.
Yeah,
I'm a transparent guy. I'm the one that stopped them from closing the coroner's records when they were had a bill to do that, and I blasted it, and she pulled it down. But the point is that I don't like. I knew what this was going to end up being. I feared what it ended up absolutely being was a gotcha. And having been a victim of Jimmy Hickey's gotcha myself, along with Senator Clark, I am a little more sensitive to it than maybe I would be in other cases.
All right. Got a break?
Okay.
Take a break, finish it up when we come back on the Dave Elswick Show.
Ministry leaders, if you think that people of faith should be leading the way in solving society's issues, we invite you to join 101.1 The Answer and the Americans for Prosperity Foundation for the Faith and Liberty Summit on May 3rd at Agape Church in Little Rock. This free event will provide the knowledge and the resources to help unify the faith community's role in civic life. Lunch will be provided, but space is limited. So register right now at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Use the promo code FAITH.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. The anti-Semitic riots at Columbia and Yale should be a wake-up call for Americans. It's just more evidence that when it comes to our elite universities, the emperor has no clothes. Student radicals pitch tents and fits at elite academies that were once the envy of the world. They're the lucky few out of mountains of accomplished, well-rounded, hard-working applicants who would have welcomed the chance to learn rather than agitate. But the universities hand-selected these radicals. It's an important reminder that places like Columbia and Yale no longer deserve the deference they've long been accorded. And it's another reason to resist Joe Biden's efforts at loan forgiveness. The universities accepted these students and created hotbeds of anti-Semitic and anti-American hatred. Let a tax on their overstuffed endowments pay down the student debt and fix at least one of the problems they've created. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
The Bumper to Bumper Car Show is Saturday, May 4th at the Conway Expo Center in Conway. It's a $20 donation to register your car, and 100% of the proceeds benefit the Ronald McDonald House Charities. There will be tons of door prizes to win, and we'll also be there with a special edition of the Car and Truck Doctor Show, starting at 7 on 101.1 The Answer. Don't miss this year's car show, sponsored by Bumper to Bumper Auto Parts. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Stimulating talk with Dave Elswick on 101.1 FM. The Answer.
All right, back with you. Jennifer, you wanted to bring something up.
Yes, well, and what I want to say is that while this may have been politically motivated by Jimmy Hickey, who I'm not a fan of. I'm not. Obviously I'm about as conservative as they come. There are still some legitimate questions regarding the timing, the FOIA, the governor's attempt to gut FOIA during the last special session in September of last year. It's more about the totality of the circumstances that we're looking at, the questions regarding FOIA, all of which were in this audit. And I don't think the audit was the result of political motivation. And I also don't think it's fair to say that when somebody is looking into a situation that it is political persecution. Does political persecution and weaponization of the justice system occur? Absolutely. I believe that, and I believe it is a major problem in our society today. But in this situation, while I would believe that there are some bad actors that are probably involved in this, I think there are some legitimate questions about the governor's choices that should be respectfully and appropriately addressed and not just dismissed as political persecution because we may side with the governor or agree with her on certain things. But the FOIA, the potential tampering, some of these things that are in here and we seem to have evidence of certainly should be addressed. And as a Republican, I would encourage her to be more transparent and respectful of the people that she is supposed to be serving, and more forthcoming with some of these information instead of making come and take it type videos that seem to be more dismissive.
Let me
of
disassociate myself with that inane, stupid video. But now, you got a lot of young people on staff. They do stupid things sometimes. This certainly takes the cake on that one. And I one of the first things I did was text someone on the staff and said, I really wish you hadn't done that. I won't even use the words that I used when I said it. But the point was, and see, if you're over 30, you don't even know what the song is about. Someone explained that to me. But the point is that these are legitimate questions that would have continued to be asked. They would have been fleshed out because someone would have had to respond to it. That's the free market of ideas. But that's different than taking a state agency that's out there trying to do their job and using that as the stick to beat up on the governor. And that's what happened. And I think when the AG pointed out, if there are discrepancies in the law, which were clear, and I saw this even before I saw the AG's opinion, because I, as a member of the committee, I got to see the audit before the public did. When it says you got to use M&R, but you don't have to use procurement. No, that's in Congress. Those two don't work. So that was my first red flag. And then as the other things came out, then I got really upset about it.
Let me get this in, because you said something about the legislative audit that I think bodes true. You said several times that they are finder of facts. Okay.
And remember, the senator is a member of
I know it. And so regardless of who initiated the audit, we can't overlook the finding of facts they found. And I agree with you that somebody accidentally losing a bill of lading or shredding a bill of lading is not that. But when you strategically, 2 days after FOI request, alter invoices.
I don't think there was an altered invoice. I think
I've got them right here.
There was a notation on the invoice.
Yes,
and that is a big difference, Jimmy. And this is something else I got mad about, because to say you can't write a note, I've looked at thousands of them that say okay to pay or
I've done this a lot, and I go through our invoices all the time. But I also know this. When you send an FOI request on the 14th and on the 15th, your staff says pull those invoices and add this notation, and you don't even put the date on it. When you add those notations, you put the date. They're trying to make it look like they did that in June.
Not necessarily. I also understand that a lot of times you've got triplicates.
But why did they
go in different parts of the
Why did they say pull those invoices 2 days after the FOI request?
I don't know.
And
they did
add this note according to the audit report. The finder of facts found that fact. They interviewed the assistant and they interviewed the executive,
governor's office,
and they told the audit firm that they did that.
The governor's office maintained that the original intent was, this is a legitimate expense. I wouldn't have wanted to spend. If they come to me and said, we got a bid, here's how much it is, I'd have said, ouch, I know we're not going to do that. But that's me. That's not them. They were absolutely allowed to buy it through their own budget. They made a decision, let's get it reimbursed with RPA, which is funds that were held for the use of the governor politically, of course. And
then why do that with the invoice? Just say, hey, we were allowed to do it, so why do that with the invoices?
Because
why get the RPA to even reimburse?
You get into you get to interpret intent when you see that, and you see it as a cover up, and I see it as simply someone saying, well, let's do it this way. And I here's the whole thing it comes down to. I wish that people would get as interested in the kinds of things that we find that nothing is done about as they have over this $19,000 issue. Like we found that the armorer for the Department of Correction was taken when they switched from 38 caliber sidearms to 9mm sidearms. We caught this guy. Audit caught him selling this stuff out of the surplus 38s out of the trunk of his car. We couldn't get the prosecutor in
but it's not about the lectern, it's about the actions, is my point.
Well, and that's okay. What's not okay
10 seconds
is to weaponize a state agency for someone's, even yours and my political agenda. That's wrong. And that's been my biggest problem with this whole process.
And I got to wrap it up on that one. Jimmy, thank you for being here today. Jennifer, you and Senator, thank you for coming in to the Dave Elswick Show. A break. And more Dave Elswick Show tomorrow, 7 a.m.
Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our apps. Stream us 24/7. KDXE, Little Rock, Chinook Village.